board hearing. My name is Ryan Nelsonstone. I'm Governor Evers' Chief Legal Counsel and also have the pleasure to serve as Chair of the Pardon Advisory Board. I'm going to go through a few housekeeping items and then we're going to jump right into things because we have a very busy schedule for today. So how things will be proceeding today is first, just be cognizant that we are live streaming this both on YouTube and Wisconsin Eye, which is Wisconsin's version of C-SPAN. Therefore, please mute yourself until it is your time to appear for the board. In addition, please turn off your camera until it's time to appear before the board. That way, only the board members and the person appearing before the board will have their video streaming. It makes it a little bit easier for all of us. So if you can go ahead and do that now, that would be appreciated. Usually there's a little, if you're on a computer, there's a little icon in your lower left-hand corner that has a camera and you can just click on that to stop the video. It should be a similar thing on a phone if you're using a phone. Second is how we're going to be proceeding today is I'm going to be calling applicants in the order that they're listed on the open meetings notice. So we're going to start with Antonio Robertson, then go to Joel, Shadiana, Harry, Michael, Mark, Joyce, and then Nicole. When it is your turn, please turn your camera on, unmute yourself, and you will then have about 5 to 10 minutes to give an opening statement. The governor's office sent you some questions on what we'd like to answer, but in short, we want to hear from you in your own words about what happened, specifically how you ended up with a felony conviction. We want details about that. In addition to that, we want to hear about how your sentence went and what happened afterwards and why you believe you've earned a chance to receive a pardon from Governor Evers. After we get through this, the applicants today, the board is going to be meeting in closed session. So it'll just be the board meeting. And at that time, we'll deliberate and we'll make determinations on whether or not your application should be forwarded to Governor Evers for a final decision. So if you receive majority support from the board members present, your application will go to Governor Evers and then he'll make a decision. If Governor Evers rejects the application, or if you don't receive majority support from the board, your application will be rejected and you'll receive a denial letter from the governor's office and it will state that you've been denied. It'll also allow you to reapply within 18 months of the date of that letter. For folks who do get majority support and Governor Evers signs off on granting you a pardon, you'll receive notification in about a month that you received a pardon and you'll receive a pardon in the mail. Make sure you keep that. That is a very important document. So keep it, scan it, make copies of it so you don't lose it. I'll do one last thing before we jump into our first applicant, or two more things. After you're done appearing before us, you do not need to stay on. So feel free to jump off as soon as you're done. You don't need to stay on to hear the other applicants. You can go about your day. Final thing is I'm going to do a quick round of introductions of our board members we have with us today. So appearing with us, we have Judge Jeff Kremers. He's a retired judge from Milwaukee County. We have Nadia Perez-Reyes. She is a former public defender, is now the Assistant Deputy Secretary at the Wisconsin Department of Children and Families. We have Cindy O'Donnell, who is with the Wisconsin Department of Corrections and formerly with the Wisconsin Department of Justice. We have Noble Ray, who is the former Chief of Police for the city of Madison and now does consulting for law enforcement agencies on racial bias training across the world. We have Myrna Warrington, who does vocational rehabilitation and is also a tribal council member. And we have Nate Holton, who is the Director of Diversity for Milwaukee County Transit. And with that, I think I got everybody. Forgot you, Jerry. Apparently, last and least is we have Jerry Hancock, who is the director of the Prison Ministry Project, and he is a former state and county prosecutor. Thank you, Jerry. So with that, we will be calling up our first applicant. Let me make sure he is on. Yep, we have him by phone. So Antonio, now is your opportunity to share your story with the board, and then I'll open it up to the board for questions. So Mr. Robertson, please proceed.
How are you doing, everyone?
Good.
My name is Antonio Robertson. Trying to get a pardon. I got in trouble in 2006 for possession charge. I moved down here from Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, and got with some old friends from where I grew up with in Chicago. Pretty much got with the wrong crowd and got in a little bit of trouble with drugs. And I went to Justice 2000, got 2 years probation for that, and went through drug counseling, got my certificate for that. I believe I had some community service, retribution that I had to pay, and I haven't been in trouble since.
Questions from the board? Cindy?
Good morning, Mr. Robertson. What would a pardon?
Good morning.
What would a pardon mean for you? How would it change your life?
It would mean everything. It would show that I haven't been in trouble since that day. I don't know if the felony would be removed, but it would look good on the record because I applied for a job with the post office recently, and the guy told me I pretty much had the job. He was just waiting on the background check, and I know that the felony on my background probably that's why it's taking a little longer, I'm guessing. And to restore some of the rights that taken away, I guess, when you have a felony.
Jerry?
No, thank you, Mr. Robertson. I was wondering about the postal application, but you answered that. So thank you very much. Good luck.
Yes, thank you.
Nadia?
Hi, Mr. Robertson. Could you tell us a little bit
How you
about,
doing?
good morning. Could you tell us a little bit about like what your like career goals are or what your dreams are in terms of like what you would like to do for a living? And I think just to build off of Cindy's question, right, like how the pardon would help you accomplish that.
Well, the pardon, again, it would show that I haven't been in trouble. I haven't been in a courtroom for any violent crime or any crime at all since that day. It would show that I had a pardon from the governor for the crime. And I don't know, it's like get the job with the post office. I mean, that's pretty much a career job that I can retire from.
And is that your goal, Mr. Robertson, right? So that you just want to find a job that you're able to secure so that you have it until you retire and you see the post office as that job for you?
It means a lot of things. I think voting, it just looked good with that being off my record. Just having the pardon under. You know, and someone do a search for me, like for an apartment. There's some apartments that I couldn't get because of the felony. So, yes, that would help a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Robertson? All right, well, thank you, Mr. Robertson, for appearing before us and for sharing your story. As you heard me say at the beginning, you'll hear from us in about a month in terms of the outcome of this process, but we hope you have a good day and a good weekend.
Okay, you too.
Thank
The
you.
rest of the board. Thank you.
All right, next, let me make sure that we have them. Next, we're going to be hearing from Joel Beutry. So Joel, if you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself and turning your camera on.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Well, you've seen how this works, Joel. So please start by sharing in terms of how you ended up with a felony conviction, what happened with your sentence, and afterwards, and why you believe you've earned a chance to receive a pardon.
Okay. I was 17 when I received a burglary charge. Young and dumb. I'm 45 now, by the way. So it was a long time ago. I can't tell exactly what was going through my mind at the time, but it was definitely foolish, and it affected other people, and that's the hard part. Also, when I was 25, I had a substantial battery charge. I served time for both of them, and probation, and I've been off probation for a long time now. I'm a family man. I spend the majority of my time when not at work with my family, and a pardon would help me to be able to travel and do things with my family that I haven't had the experience myself outside the country, and also be able to hunt to provide food for my family. Yeah, the substantial battery when I was about 25 years old. So it was about 20 years ago.
Mhm. Questions from the board? Jeff?
Good morning, sir. So I'm most interested in what was going on with the substantial battery. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened there? I mean,
Absolutely. It happened at a tavern in Appleton, Wisconsin, and there was alcohol involved. And my entire life, I've been a bigger guy, and it's kind of been a magnet to people to try and fight me. Most of the time, I can work without having, the altercation, but at this time there was alcohol involved, and I wasn't considering the consequences for me or the other person, and I hit him outside the bar, and although I didn't hit him once, I only hit him one time, and I think the judge at the time said it best: is it doesn't matter how many times I hit him, it's the consequences and what happened to him from that hit, and that really opened my eyes, because it could have been a lot worse, and I could be still in prison today, and that kind of opened my eyes to it. And I'm a husband and a father now, and I have more than just myself to think about. My family means the world to me, my wife and my daughters.
so do I understand though that this comment that this person made to you that upset you was made much earlier in the evening at a totally different establishment, at a restaurant or something, and then you saw him later at a bar, and that's when this happened? Do I have that right?
Yeah, pretty much that's correct. But it didn't just stop at the restaurant. He continued while we were at the bar also.
I see. All right, thank you.
Cindy?
Good morning. You also had a misdemeanor disorderly conduct in 2000, it looks like. Can you tell us the circumstances around that?
That was actually the woman that I'm married to right now. We had gotten in an argument, and we split up, and it was more of a kind of a misunderstanding than anything. When she went back to her apartment at the time and explained to her friend that we had got in an argument and a fight, then her friend called the police, and it was kind of blown more out of proportion, but we both moved forward from that point, and we've been together for over 20 years now, and have 3 beautiful daughters, and have been married for 16 of those 20 years.
Thank you.
Jerry?
Joel, one reason you want to travel is so you can do mission work with your church. What kind of mission work does your church do?
Originally, that was the plan, but I recently moved from the time the application was put in till now. The past 6-7 months, I've been living in South Carolina, working here.
Oh, wow.
Yes. I'm trying to find a church home here, and we've been going to one mostly that I think is going to become our church home.
Okay. Do you intend to stay in South Carolina?
Yes, we actually purchased a home down here.
Okay,
This will be our residence for quite a while.
good. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Myrna?
Thank you. Have you had any contact with your victim, or what happened with all that?
No, actually, I haven't had any contact with any of the victims since then. The disorderly conduct, obviously, I'm married to my wife now. Excuse me. But not since the court dates. I haven't had any contact with them.
No apologies or anything with the person you injured?
I believe in court I did apologize to the gentleman at that time, but not since. I haven't talked to any of them since.
Any other? Nate?
Hi, can you talk about your past church volunteer work and kind of how you got into that and what it means to you?
Sure. I haven't always been a Christian my entire life. I didn't actually start going to church until our daughters were attending Awana at Brilliant Community Church, and I kind of wanted to make sure, everything was safe for them there. And I went and I met some of the members of the church, and then I began going to that church, and that church really spoke to me. And I was baptized a few years later. And my role at that church was a sound person, sound engineer, and I worked all the way up into till about 7 months ago. And we worked into the virtual stuff and started doing sound and streaming for after COVID started. So yes, I worked directly with the pastor and with the people who sang and played music and everybody else.
All right, well, thanks for appearing before us today, Joel. As you heard me say at the beginning, you'll hear from us in terms of the outcome of this process in about a month, and hope you have a very good day.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, next we're going to hear from Shadiana Anderson. So Ms. Anderson, if you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself. Oops. No, looks like we just lost her. So we'll try to get her back on. All right, so we'll then jump to our next applicant and hopefully we can, oh, there she is. Hi, Ms. Anderson. All right, can you hear us? Hello, Ms. Anderson, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, so now is your opportunity to appear before the board. So as you've heard us say for some other applicants, now's your chance to explain how you ended up with a felony conviction, what happened with your sentence and afterwards, and why you believe you've earned the chance to receive a pardon from the governor.
I think I deserve an opportunity to get a pardon because I feel like it'll be beneficial to the environment because I haven't been working due to my my background, and then now it's like you can't even get a apartment, you know, with a background. So that's why I'm trying to get this pardon because it will be very beneficial, and I haven't really been doing any crimes, you know. So that's my main reason of trying to get it.
Can you describe a little bit about what happens when you're 18 with operating the vehicle without consent? What
Oh
was?
yeah, that's another thing. And then it's like hard to get any type of driving jobs with something like that on there.
Can you describe how you ended up though, Shadiana, with the felony conviction? What exactly happened?
Well, they said that I was, well, they told me to take the plea, so I took it because I didn't know any better.
Okay. So what happened? Like, why were you arrested though? Why don't we start there?
It was a driving without owner's consent. I was young, driving a car I didn't really know much about, and come to find out it was stolen.
All right. Questions from the board? Jeff?
Good morning, Ms. Anderson. So the car that you were driving, did that belong to a friend of yours?
Kinda.
And did you take the car without his permission?
The car we just took it without permission in general.
Okay. And then after you went to court, they put you on probation. Is that right?
Not exactly. No.
You didn't get probation when you first went to court?
When I first went to court, no, I didn't.
Because according to the records that you filed, you were on probation.
I never went to court for this case because I actually had so many cases. I thought this was something else.
Well, at some point you went to court on this case though, and you pled guilty. You said you took a plea.
Well, actually, they detained me for a whole different case.
I know,
and then
but,
they said I had a drive, and I was like, oh, I forgot about that one.
okay, but on the driving without the permission case, you pled guilty and you got put on probation. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I always plead guilty because I didn't know.
No.
Like I said, I was young. I didn't know no better.
No, but my question is about the probation. You got put on probation for this case, right?
The end result was, yeah, probation
Okay.
and 30 days in house correction.
All right, and then your probation got revoked and you went to jail. Can you tell us why you got revoked? What happened? I
got revoked because I broke the rules for probation.
And what rules did you break?
I really forgot because it's been so long ago.
I see. Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Ms. Anderson, can you talk a little bit about the temporary restraining order that was filed against you that looks like it's still in effect until January of 2024?
I'm saying I don't see what any other case has to do with this pardon. Not to be rude, but.
Well, because we have to, consider the whole picture of a person. And so we don't look at, one offense within isolation. It's,
I don't have, like I said in the beginning, I don't have any other. I wouldn't even showed up here today if I had new charges.
So you're not aware of the restraining order that was filed against you?
I don't have any restraining orders, except, well, I do with the card situation, I do with that guy.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Jerry?
Ms. Anderson, Can you talk about your relationship with your foster mother?
Is she on my case?
No, I just wonder about your life with your foster mother. There was a very nice letter from her about how she considers herself to be the grandmother of your son and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, I believe she is. That's why I think she might have wrote the letter, because she has been a great impact on my life. And I think that she don't want to see me walking around with this, because she knows it's been bothering me for so long, So I think that, I don't know, I think that we have a great relationship, and that's all I can really say. We have a really strong bond.
How long did you live with her?
I lived with her for a while. She was actually my foster parent when I was about 8, I think, about 8. So yeah, but she's been in my life for a long time.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Myrna?
Yeah, good morning, Miss Anderson. Are you working now?
No, I'm not.
Okay, thank you.
All right, well, thanks, Ms. Anderson, for appearing before us. As you heard me say, the previous 2 applicants, you'll hear from us in about a month in terms of the outcome of this process, but hope you have a very good weekend.
All right, you as well.
Thank you. All right, next we will be going to Harry Miller. So Harry, if you wouldn't mind turning your camera on and unmuting yourself.
Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, that's wonderful.
Well, as you've seen before, Harry, if you can explain how you ended up with a felony conviction, what happened with your sentence, and what happened afterwards, and why you think you've earned a chance to receive a pardon. So now's your opportunity.
Yes. Well, and I'd like to take the first opportunity to say good morning and thank you all for your time to hear my story. I am very grateful and humbled by this opportunity. My name is Harry Miller. I'm 59. I live in Mount Pleasant, Wisconsin, with my partner of 17 years, Sally Merriman. Between us, Sally and I proudly have 4 children, all married, and we have 11 wonderful grandchildren. I've been employed by Pavtech Corporation down in Lake Bluff, Illinois, for over 13 years as their accountant and business manager. I've had 2 felonies that took place over 32 years ago. And to say the least, I'm very embarrassed and ashamed of what I did. The first felony happened on New Year's Eve, 1982. Me and 2 of my buddies were down in Portage celebrating the New Year. And after partying into the early morning hours, we decided to take a break before driving home. And since our car was parked in front of a 24-hour laundromat, that's where we went. Due to the time that has passed since then, I honestly don't remember the details of what took place, what we thought we would gain, or why it ever came to be. All I can say is that one minute we were sitting around minding their own business, and the next we were in the locked section of the building and surrounded by police. After we were arrested and taken to jail for questioning, my friends were allowed to go home with their parents, and I stayed in jail until I could post my bond. I was convicted of burglary and was sentenced to 2 years probation, 6 months in county jail. The probation and jail time were both completed successfully, along with the court costs and the restitution being paid. Second felony happened in 1989. I was with some friends at a local tavern, and another guy was arguing with my then girlfriend, and I stepped in to see what was going on. This turned into an argument, which then turned into a fight in the alley until the police showed up. I was very angry and very uncontrollable, so the officers handcuffed me and put me into a squad car, where I kicked at the squad car door until the window shattered and the door popped open. I was taken to jail and woke up the next day with very little memory of what had taken place. I found out that there was an officer outside the car trying to hold the window so it wouldn't shatter. It did shatter and the glass flew into her face, leaving cuts on her face and glass all over her. I was convicted for causing bodily harm to an officer, which was felony, criminal damage to property, which was the misdemeanor. For the bodily harm to an officer, I received a sentence of 3 years probation and 6 months in jail. For the criminal damage to property, I was sentenced to 60 days in jail, which would be served at the same time as the 6-month sentence. Both of these convictions also included court costs and restitution. I completed both sentences successfully and satisfied all the costs and restitution. Before beginning my jail term, however, and while still out on bond, I pledged a vow of sobriety and attended alcohol counseling. This gave me the time and opportunity to focus on my alcohol use, the effects of it, and my future. I believe this was a positive turning point in my life, one of the best choices I would make. I truly believe I wouldn't be where I am in life now had I continued down my previous path. I also got an opportunity to make sincere apologies to that officer that was injured and express my remorse for my actions and the injury she sustained. She accepted my apology and wished me the best of luck in my future. Shortly after completing my 6-month sentence, I was offered and worked out an opportunity to lease a building and operate my own auto repair shop. I was quite successful until they sold the building. Since I couldn't find a suitable replacement in the same area, I would need to close it down. Operating the shop for that time did give me opportunities to work for many people within the area. There were everyday residents, business owners, government employees, and even police officers that gave me their automotive business. I took great pride in knowing that regardless of my past, the community I worked in and for trusted me and showed me loyalty to the end. Shortly after closing that shop in 1996, I began working for a local, well-established roofing company in Portage. They were one of the customers when I operated the repair shop. And since their company was growing, they were looking to hire an in-house maintenance person. I became responsible for the maintenance of all their vehicles, equipment, buildings, and grounds, and I also worked on the crews on many job sites. I worked there for 8 years. Until then, I met Sally in 2004. Sally had already established a long-term career with SC Johnson, so I chose to move down to Union Grove so that we could live together and begin a new chapter in our lives. Due to an ongoing back injury that developed over the years, I underwent 2 back surgeries in 2005. The doctors told me I would need to consider a new line of work. My back would only get worse and would eventually require more surgery. In 2006, Sally and I managed to enroll me into college, where I studied for and successfully earned a degree in accounting and business management. Even with my back disability, I drove a dump truck to help support us financially and pay for the college. I graduated from college in early 2008. And while studying at college, I had the honor of being placed on the dean's list and also served on the student government as the treasurer for the first year and the president for the second year. After graduating from college, I was offered a temporary job at a company down in Lake Bluff, Illinois, where I'm still working to this day. This was supposed to only be a 2 or 3 opportunity so that the regular accountants could take an extended vacation. Within that time frame, I found some discrepancies in the books and brought them to the attention of my boss. After he consulted with his CPA and verified what I had found, he offered me the job as a full-time permanent position. I gladly accepted this offer and have been with the company ever since. Sally and I have been together now for 17 years in a very happy and stable relationship. As mentioned before, between the 2 of us, we have 4 children, 11 grandchildren. She has been a very strong influence in my life and has great family values. She has a very successful career at SC Johnson, where she has worked going on 30 years now and has become a very strong role model for me. We own 2 residential properties, one of which we utilize as a rental property in Union Grove, and the other is our primary home in Mount Pleasant. While at home, we spend time with our kids, grandkids, family, and friends every chance we get. We like sitting around the campfire, having cookouts, and playing yard games. We also spend a lot of time maintaining the home and quite large yard. During our free time when we're not at work or working at home, Sally and I enjoy camping. We've always enjoyed the camping. We've always enjoyed the outdoor activities and spend many weekends camping, rafting, and kayaking. We always look forward to meeting new people and going new places. Now that our children are all grown up, Sally and I are focusing on our retirement goals. Our rental property is already paid off, and we hope to have our Mount Pleasant home paid off in the next 2 years. Since we both have good incomes and we're somewhat of penny pinchers, we continue saving and investing. Our goal is to hopefully retire in the next 5 years or so and begin traveling around the state or even the country. Thinking about why I feel or want the governor's pardon, my actions not only led to the end of both of my previous marriages, but also put a strain on relationships within my family. I lost the respect from my parents, my children, and other family members. While some of our family members still don't know about my past, it would be very embarrassing, shameful, and difficult to explain if they ever found out. Certainly don't want any of our grandkids thinking they came into a family with such a bad grandpa. This pardon gives me the chance to proudly tell them that even though I did some bad things in my life, I have become a much better person and have been forgiven for those acts. In my professional career as an accountant and business manager for over 13 years now, I have never missed a day of work without just cause and always show up to work early and ready to take on the day. My employer not only trusts me with his entire company management and finances, but also his personal finances. One goal I have yet to accomplish for him is to become a notary public. This would be beneficial in my career, and I cannot achieve that goal with those felonies on my record. While I'm successful in this career and have no thoughts of changing jobs, receiving this pardon could lead to new and better opportunities with companies seeking someone with my education, skills, and background. In my application for pardon, I included letters of reference from several law enforcement officers and from my employer. One was from Officer Penny Kiefer. She was one of the arresting officers and the same officer who got injured while trying to keep the squad car window from shattering back in 1989. Another was from Officer Ken Manthey. He was one of the arresting officers from the incident back in 1983. The last one was from Deputy Michael Babcock of the Columbia County Sheriff's Department. Receiving those letters of recommendation from them was a very proud moment that even knowing about and taking part in my past, they still thought I deserved a second chance opportunity to pursue the pardon. They were happy to do what they could to accomplish my goal and wished me the best of luck with it. Also back in 1992, it was with the help of both Nancy and Michael Babcock that I proudly became one of the founding board members of the Columbia County Crime Stoppers organization and held my seat on that board for 6 years until 1998 when my term limits ran out.
Thanks, Mr. Miller. I think we'll open up just for questions. You've been very thorough, but we do need to get through some of our other applicants today. So sorry to interrupt, but do board members have questions for Mr. Miller? Jerry?
Mr. Miller, I admire your very thorough report on your life and your family. I want to go back though to your application and the incident with the bar fight. In your application, you said that you were in an angry state of mind and did not recognize them as officers of the law. Is that still the way you want us to understand what happened?
Absolutely not. I mean, I was very angry at the time. There was some alcohol use involved, and I guess, you know, I recognize law enforcement officers as law enforcement officers, and I think it was the heat of the moment, quick 1 second thing that took place, and maybe it was an incorrect statement on my application.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Miller? All right, well, thanks, Harry, for appearing before us and your thorough statement to us. As you've heard me say before to the previous applicants, you'll hear from us in about a month, but hope you have a good day and weekend.
All right, well, and thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you. All right, next we will be hearing from Michael Adams. So Mr. Adams, if you wouldn't mind, there you go. Well, now is your opportunity to share your story with the board. So please, explain how you end up with a felony conviction, what happened afterwards, and why you believe you've earned a chance to receive a pardon. So please proceed.
Okay, thank you. Good morning to you all, and thank you for this opportunity. But just stay with the talking points as described. In 2001, December, I had been a wayward youth. I was up late, just sort of just up to no good generally. 16-year-old smoking cigarettes, wondering what life is all about. And I lived out in the country. I wandered around just down country back roads and saw a vehicle with I didn't even have a driver's license, but I suppose the prospect of driving a vehicle was alluring enough to take somebody else's property. So that's what I ultimately ended up doing with the intention of bringing it back, basically just a joyride situation. I had been driving around, this is in Kaukauna, Wisconsin. It was, if I remember correctly, about 4 days before Christmas, post 9/11. I think had a big part of it. It was a little bit of a turbulent time for the U.S. and my home was no different. Sort of mom and dad issues, just a lot of waywardness, like I said, going on inside my brain. So I was driving around through a residential area at 35 miles an hour instead of the posted 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. A police officer attempted to pull me over, and I determined that it would be better to not stop and risk getting caught and going to jail or something like that. I did not know that it would be a much worse situation by doing what I did in eluding the police through the county and state highways around the Kaukauna and Freedom areas. Anyways, they deployed, I believe they call it like a stop stick, something like that. Anyways, it disabled the vehicle and then took me from the vehicle. At that point, I was brought to juvenile detention in Outagamie County. And I was later tried as an adult for without a waiver hearing or anything like that for for eluding the police, which is an unclassified felony. And unbeknownst to me, it was especially poor timing to have done this type of committed this type of a crime, in that it was a serious motor vehicle violation perpetrated by a 16-year-old or older. Did not require a waiver into adult court. So I was tried as an adult in Outagamie County, and I pled guilty to the felony and received 3 years probation consecutive to any juvenile conviction that I received as well. So from 2002 until 2005, I was on adult probation. And right towards the end of so I completed my juvenile supervision, and just towards the end of 2002, I was able to complete that and go to back to Kaukauna. I was in Lincoln Hills group Lincoln Hills School for Boys and in Wausau, and part of like a transitionary program, and then graduated at 17 from Kaukauna after I was released from juvenile supervision, transitioning to my adult probation. From 2003 until 2005, I worked construction after I graduated, and I didn't really do a whole lot for the community, for self-growth, anything like that. I was just sort of working. but I did have aspirations of joining the Marine Corps. Like I said, a lot of my godfather was a Marine. My dad's second oldest brother was also a Marine. And I had to wait until I was off of probation to do that. I'd asked my recruiter to appeal to my probation officer, and to no avail. She made me complete that. I want to be clear that I think it's in my application as well. I did receive as a 18-year-old a driving under the influence while I was on probation. They did not revocate my probation for that. However, I did spend some time in I don't know if I'd consider a 3/4 way home or a rehabilitation house in Appleton, and had left there after about 6 months of treatment. No other incidences since then. So in my adult profile, I suppose I would have those things would be the unclassified felony and then the driving under the influence within about 3 years of each other. In 2005, I did enlist in the Marine Corps. I went and I had done that. I'm an air traffic controller with them. There's a pretty detailed training regimen with that. So in the Marine Corps, though I thought I was going to go and fight bad guys with my air traffic control knowledge, I ended up having to become qualified first. So about 5 years after I joined the Marine Corps is when I started my first deployment, and deployed with the 11th Marine Expeditionary Unit to Central Command. Very little real world significance, anything like that. But in 2016 and 2017 was my second deployment with the 24th Marine Expeditionary Unit. There was Hurricanes Maria and Matthew, not in that order anyways. Hurricane Matthew that affected Haiti in 2016. We were called down to as a part of the Global Reaction Force and supported the Joint Task Force Matthew in Haiti, delivering relief aid with USAID and foreign partners down there. Deployment following that, just doing our job, being a presence and all that stuff. It was very uneventful, real world things. But on the backside, just after we had gotten back, we know we were plagued from hurricanes in 2017 with Harvey and Irma, and then eventually Maria in Puerto Rico. So I had gone down there again for a very similar mission, but in this case, in support of U.S. citizens, and we had a lot more breadth to work down there. So it was a very enlightening experience, and that I think understood that doing right by the community and being a good thing, that was part of my call to service. I think in joining the Marine Corps, but ultimately just doing my part to make things better. I don't know if it's part of a lifelong atonement process for this type of thing, but I do feel a tug to provide for those that in need. This pardon for me, where I'm at in my career, I've been in the Marine Corps for about 16 years, and I'm at a point where I can transcend my position to the next level. However, I do require a higher security clearance, and then looking beyond that, the felony conviction is a distinct barrier in between my current security clearance and my potential next security clearance for service in the Pentagon. After I retire, though, I do look forward to continuing service in my community as a firearms instructor, working with youth and teaching things like hunter safety and firearm safety to our youth to make sure that the dangers of firearms are dispelled, and that we have a safer community. Ultimately, that's the reason why I'm pursuing this pardon.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. And Even though we're a day after Veterans Day, thank you for your service.
Thank you for your support.
Any questions from the board for Mr. Adams? Cindy?
Good morning, Mr. Adams. In the application process, although not required, applicants are encouraged to submit letters of support, and you chose not to, and I'm just wondering why you made that choice.
I appreciate your question. Thank you. I understand that you do have to have key players in your corner, and there needs to be some type of support and substantiation, at least anecdotally from people that have reviewed you. And I just considered that this was a very different time in my life. Like I said, in 2001, it's now 15 years post incident, and to be honest, I am a bit embarrassed about the situation. I did have to kind of spill the beans on myself, as it were. Anyways, a big investigation actually in the application process to originally enlist in the Marine Corps, and it's a very close circle of friends of mine that are in the Marine Corps that I've trusted with this information, anyways. And I think just bluntly, if I had to boil it all down, that's it. I was too embarrassed, I think, to ask for any letters of recommendation, but that I do have, award citations and things like that. That would be like, oh, these are the neat things that he had done. I think I just wanted to kind of appeal to you all and just kind of shoot as straight as I possibly can on the subject, and just be straightforward from a personal perspective.
Thank you. I appreciate the answer.
Jerry?
Thank you.
And Mr. Adams, you did have glowing after action reviews in your file, particularly regarding your service in Haiti and Puerto Rico. But there was one thing in your application that I did want to ask you about. You started a volunteer tutoring program, right, when you were at Camp Pendleton at an elementary school? And it mentioned in there that the Marines that were involved in that would also act as sort of playground monitors. I would think that'd be pretty intimidating for kids to have Marines as playground monitors.
Oh, Jerry, I appreciate your question. Thank you. And it was honestly, it was an on-base school, so I think that there was a little bit of desensitizing for Marines, but I think it did instill a very important fact that there is no better friend than the U.S. Marine. And what we did over at that school, I think, was just wonderful. And those some of those guys that were part of that program, I still talk to today, and they say that that's one of a very warm and endearing memory that they have from their time there, even though that they came in the Marine Corps, got a little bit disenfranchised, and they just appreciated that.
Great. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Adams? Well, thank you, Michael, for appearing before us today. As you've heard me say a couple of times, you'll hear from us in about a month in terms of the outcome of this process, but appreciate your time and have a good day and weekend.
Thank you. You as well. Thanks for your consideration. All
right. Next, looks like you're all set, Mark. So Mark Witherspoon, if you wouldn't mind just unmuting yourself. You've had the benefit of seeing this a couple of times now, so I'll just hand it over to you.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yep, just fine.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me. Thanks for hearing my case this morning. I'm at work, as you probably know. I'm just grateful now. I, like the other guy, I didn't have letters of support or anything. It wasn't because I don't have it. A lot of people love me and I love them. I can say that I am an ordained and licensed minister. I'm a pastor of my own church, Spoon-Fed Ministries. Since my event, I don't know what felony. I think I have 3 or 4 down there. I don't know. But, I don't use excuses, and I don't want you guys to think of an excuse. I was on drugs very, very bad. I started using drugs at a very young age, and then I got to crack cocaine, in 1988. And that's the year I got married. to my first wife, with whom I didn't stay but a year because of my drug use. And from then on, all my life was centered around getting high. And I know that, you know, that's no excuse. I'm not making excuses. I did a lot of crimes to satisfy my urge and my need to use drugs. And that's why I did it. Since these crimes that I have committed, my life has changed drastically. As I told you, I'm a licensed and ordained minister. I work in the community. I have been to prison, you know that. And I've been back to prisons as a preacher and a licensed minister to talk to inmates on how your life can change. You don't have to stay where you are. You don't have to stay stuck, keep coming in and out. I seen a few guys that I was in there when I went in 202 or 203, one of them. They were there, and I was explaining to them that you don't have to be here, even though my life wasn't straight and narrow then, but I was on a better path. I was not on drugs and alcohol at that time. So my life has changed drastically. I tried to get a pardon when Governor Scott Walker was in office. And by the way, I ran into him a couple times since he's been out. And I've talked to him about it. He just said he didn't do it. He didn't want to get involved in that. The state didn't really need to do that. But my life has changed from my pattern, my thinking. That was the main goal with why I was getting into trouble and getting these felonies, was because of my drug use and my thinking and how I thought about life and how I am now. I really, I got so much regret and remorse for what I've done and the person that I was. And I just can't picture me being like that, but that was me. But today, I'm totally different. And, I'm not saying, I'm not looking at, I deserve another chance. No. Consideration, sure. I thank you guys for it. Again, my thinking is I'm grateful to be working. I was on disability since 2002. And just 6 months ago, I decided that I needed to get off of this and start working. And I got a really good job. And, I hate COVID came, but it opened up doors for me, which otherwise wouldn't have been open because people wouldn't have wanted to take a chance on you. But I guess since the flock was so little, as you can see, nobody wants to work, that they took a chance on me. And I'm grateful for them taking a chance on me. And I know that with this chance, my life is going to be much, much better. And I could do more things. If I didn't have the felonies on my record, that would just open up so many more doors for me to go into places, to do different things in life, in the ministry work that I'm in. I'm truly about ministry. That's just who I am today. But I guess I don't know what else I could say.
Sure, I'll open it up to the board. Just one question first, Mr. Witherspoon. I mean, do you know what kind of impact, especially you had, you mentioned you have a couple of felonies. It looks like you had 4. So, delivery of a controlled substance, which was, the charge for the Valium pill. Right. Then you had, in 2003, an attempt to obtain controlled substance by fraud. But the two that I'm interested in is you had 2 burglaries, one in 1994 and one in 1997. And both of those involved, victims, including one in which they were in the apartment. My question for you is, what kind of impact do you think this had on those individuals, your actions?
Oh, it impacted them drastically. I feel so bad that happened. I know that I really, those people trusted me, number one. They knew who I was. These was not strangers. And the one that was, I think it was Marquette down that way. It was just an opportunity that I'm thinking in my mind, oh, here goes some more, I can get some drugs. Let me run in here and just take what I could take. and how that impacted those young kids. I can understand them. Me being, and I'm not using any excuses, being a Black man, that probably, you know, made their thought pattern something different. And I know that they felt, you know, like they didn't have any control. They're in a bad neighborhood. I know that it was probably terrorizing to them. It was terrorizing. And I hate, and I really do hate that all of this happened. And I make no excuses to you, sir, or to any of the board members. That was a bad choice. And I really have remorse. I have regret. I really have empathy for what I've done as far as the crime and the burglaries. Yes, I really do.
Noble.
Good morning, Mr. Witherspoon.
Good morning.
Just a question, and you've acknowledged, you know, articulated well kind of the ongoing struggles that you've had with drug abuse and drug use over the years. Are you into formal? Have you been to formal treatment, and are you still into any kind of formal treatment?
Yes, I have been to numerous of treatments, and until I got, and I'm being honest with you, got delivered from God, none of the treatments really worked until this changed. And that was my thinking. And then when my thinking changed from the treatments, I was able to help other people. I worked at a club called the 12-Step Club in Milwaukee. It's on 41st and Townsend. I was the manager there for 7 years. I opened it up and closed it at night. And people worked in between time. So I've always been in recovery and around recovery. And today, that is my main goal, to help people know that, you know, drugs don't have to be a part of your life. You got to get off of it in order to let the fog clear, so get out of your mind so you can see. So today I stay, that's my number one priority, is to always remember where I came from. Because if I don't remember that, then I will not know where I'm going. So yes, drugs is always there.
Thank you.
Jeff.
Hey, good morning, sir. Can you tell me what job do you have now?
I'm a truck driver. I drive trucks for a company. I deliver a lot of printed material all day. You know, I had back surgery in 2006. That's why I was on disability. I actually got hurt and I got my L4 and L5 disc. But this job doesn't call for a lot of bending and lifting. I have an electric jack, and the jack does all the work. So I just deliver to companies all around. I'm in Oconomowoc right now. So I go all over the state of Wisconsin, basically delivering.
Why do you want a pardon?
It opens up doors for me as far as my future goals. I have a goal that kind of involves where you're gonna have to have a clean record, and that's to go and try to help find missing children, because I had a friend whose daughter got killed in Mississippi in 2009, and her friend got kidnapped, and they never found it to this day. And I feel like I want to work for 5 good years. If I can get 5 good years out of this body, that I could use the next 5 to try and do other things for society, which is going to cause, for me, I cannot have felonies on my record, because I will not be able to do the things to qualify for the things that I need to do. So that's why I really want a pardon, to give my life in order not have this on my back, on my past, even though I put it back there, that's where I wanted to stay, back there.
Other questions from the board?
Yep.
Nate?
Yeah, one last question. Sir, can you talk about in 2010, there was an arrest by MPD related to a restraining order. Can you just kind of discuss the circumstances of that?
Oh yeah, I was divorced, and I was at the house to pick up my furniture, my washer and dryer. And she had said I could come by there and get that. But once I got there, I guess she changed her mind. And it made me really upset. And I said, why you don't just give it, it was court ordered by the judge. And I thought she had really got rid of the restraining order because this is what she had said, but she didn't. And if you look at the report, I did not run. I did not cause any commotion. When the police came, they found out I had this and I said, okay. And I had to go by the right way to get it done. So that's what happened. It was no argument. No, I just wanted my furniture. And she had the restraining order on me. Yep, she sure did.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions from the board? All right, well, thank you, Mr. Witherspoon. As you've heard me say a couple of times, you'll hear from us in about a month, but hope you have a good day and weekend.
Thank you, you too. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Looks like we do not have Joyce with us. So we will go to Nikki Dayton. So Nikki, if you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself. All right, so Ms. Dayton, you've seen this a couple of times. Now's your opportunity, so please proceed.
Sounds good. I'm nervous. I don't know about anybody else, but
You'll be fine.
okay. So as you know, I'm Nicole Dayton. I want to start out by saying I make no excuses for what I did. What I did was wrong and selfish, and it was my choice, my wrong choice, and I take full responsibility for it and regret it to this day. Early in 1999, while working for a local real estate company as their bookkeeper, I made the biggest mistake of my life. Not once, but multiple times while working there, a mistake that continues to give me that sick feeling in my stomach today. Daily, I wrote checks and deposited money into that company account, banking at the same bank personally. One day, I deposited a business check written to our company as a cash check to transfer funds into my own account instead of the business account. A few days later, while reconciling, I noticed the error and thought how easy it was, and going forward chose to continue that action on my own, totaling approximately $23,000. I used the money for personal things, nothing fancy. We had a large family, money was tight, and I maybe bought name brand peanut butter instead of generic, or paid off an old hospital bill, or stayed ahead of things financially. But honestly, I can't even actually account for where it all went besides things of that sort. August 1999, I left my job there before being caught and sought help. At that time, I should have went to the victim and confessed, but was so ashamed I couldn't bring myself to do so. When questioned by authorities regarding the theft, I did not deny it, and we went forward with charges in the case. In April 2001, I was convicted of a Class C felony, served 6 months in county jail, withheld 8 years of probation, and paid my restitution within half the allotted time. I have not had contact with the victim, only to write a letter of an apology on my own while serving my time. But if I did today, I would simply just say I was sorry, I was wrong, and ask what I can do to make it right. Still today, my biggest question to myself is why. We could have made things work with our limited incomes. We didn't actually need the money, we just needed to sacrifice. I was raised in a loving Christian home and raised our kids to be kind, honest, and giving, and I did just the opposite. I'm so ashamed and remorseful and continue daily to try and make things right by giving and paying forward by volunteering and serving our community. In the past 22 years since the crime, I have volunteered in numerous areas, including our school, community, and church. I organize many functions at school for our kids for fundraising and extracurricular activities. I volunteered my time locally while families face hardships of all kinds, trying to ease things for them, such as meal chains, clothes drives, and benefits. I cared for my parents while they were ill while raising our 5 kids and working full-time and donating our family time at the warming house in La Crosse. I served through giving at our church that we attend regularly by teaching Sunday school, confirmation, and I'm also the church council secretary. I feel like I can't give enough to take back what I did, only go forward. For the past 15 years, I have been working in the construction industry and as an accountant. Ironic, I know, but I feel that I have persevered past my mistakes and am successful at what I do in that area, as I am loyal and trustworthy. I am asking that you consider this pardon because I feel that is not who I am. But as you know, the felony title unfortunately carries a bad taste and has limitations. Our kids are fully grown, and I now look to broaden my volunteer skills, wanting to expand to more schools and churches. My husband and I want to take our vacation time to work through ministries worldwide and local congregations. both of which require background checks, and applying for a passport and the felony conviction may halter these efforts. I fully understand that this does not take away the crime done, only the name that comes with it. I regularly see a therapist to keep me on track, and we both believe also having the pardon approved will push even further towards my healing point. I was asked by our pastor if I think I deserve the pardon. I told her that was a tricky question. Do I deserve it? I'm not sure on this earth we deserve anything, but we do work to make things better for ourselves and everyone we can, and the best we can do is try. She agreed and then added, "You have my grace and are deserving."
Thanks, Ms. Dayton. Questions from the board? Cindy?
Good morning, Ms. Dayton. You brought up how ironic it is you're now back working in accounts payable. Was it difficult for you to get a company to take a chance on you?
The company I actually work for, they didn't do background checks. I donated. I came forward and just said, I have this past. I just want to be open with it. And so they respected the fact that I was honest about it, and it hasn't been a problem.
There's also, there's deserving a pardon and there's earning a pardon. So think about that, but thank you.
Thank you.
Jerry?
Was your case in the paper?
Boy, I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Right. And
I don't think it was, because even some of my closest friends have no clue about it.
yeah. Yeah, it was a very thoughtful letter from your pastor. And what kind of mission work do you think you'd like to do or be able to do if you got a pardon?
So we love kids. So our kids even have went on mission trips with our church every year, and we've donated some time with them. So just working with, we worked in San Francisco on a mission to help kids, just take care of them during the day, making their meals and everything like that. I've thought about also searching or seeking out a medical degree, whether it be a CNA or even taking more, just to help in medical type missionaries also.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? All right, well, thanks, Ms. Dayton, for appearing before us. As you've heard me say a couple of times, you'll hear from us in about a month, but thank you and have a good day.
All right, thanks for your time, you guys.
All right, so we are through our first session this morning and we're about 15 minutes ahead of time. So if it's okay with the board, I think we'll take a 10-minute break and come back at 9:55. So, all right, thanks everyone.
Noble. Am I right? Was Ron Johnson a friend of your dad's?
Well, my father kind of mentored him.
Okay.
Yeah, because Ron, when he was about 18, he was starting to really try and find his footing, getting to politics, nonprofit organizations, trying to understand, he was on the heels of, the late 1960s riots, and my father was really, really involved. He was one of the first African Americans to run for alder in Milwaukee. Was just really involved. So so my father mentored Ron.
Oh, I know he spoke really passionately about his relationship with your family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's the impact that he has had not only in Milwaukee. I mean, he has had a tremendous impact in Milwaukee, but in just short order with restorative justice here in Madison, it's been unbelievable.
Right. Oh, I know, and I mean, I think the success of the restorative justice court, and expanding that into other communities besides South Madison, has really been very, very important.
Yeah. And thanks for sending me that email.
Yeah, I know. I had run across Ron, kind of in the restorative justice work, we were doing sort of in parallel. And, but then we both became part of four old guys who had lunch together occasionally. And so I really got to know more about him that way and hear about his days in the Panthers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna admit.
Oh, nice flowers, Jeff.
There you go. I had to wait for my wife to bring them upstairs. I'm not supposed to be running up and downstairs.
All right, well, welcome everybody. We're just gonna give people just about 30 seconds here to connect. And then we will get started with our 10 to 11:30 session. Just want to make sure Kelly can connect here since she's our first applicant we'll hear from. All right, well, I think I'll get started with kind of my normal introduction for everybody, and then we'll, if we do have any problems with a particular applicant, what we do is we just jump ahead to the next person, and then somebody from our office will reach out to try to address the issue. So we're pretty good at troubleshooting those. So if we don't hear from you during your slot, don't worry about it. We do work it out. So a couple of housekeeping items. So first of all, my name is Ryan Nelson, and I'm Governor Evers' Chief Legal Counsel, and also have the honor of serving as chair of the Pardon Advisory Board. We have a number of our Pardon Advisory Board members with us today. So I'll do a quick round of introductions and then address housekeeping items. So we have Judge Jeff Kremers. Jeff is a retired judge from Milwaukee County. We have Nadia Perez-Reyes, who is a former public defender and is now the Assistant Deputy Secretary of the Wisconsin Department of Children and Families. We have Cindy O'Donnell with the Wisconsin Department of Corrections and formerly the Wisconsin Department of Justice. We have Jerry Hancock, who is the director of the Prison Ministry Project and is a former state and county prosecutor. We have Noble Ray, who is a consultant for law enforcement agencies across the world on implicit bias training, and is before that was the chief of police for the city of Madison. We have Nate Holton, who is the director of diversity for Milwaukee County Transit. And we have Myrna Warrington, who is a tribal council member and also a vocational does vocational rehabilitation. So on to the housekeeping items. First and foremost, we are live streaming this on YouTube. It is also being broadcast by Wisconsin Eye, which is Wisconsin's version of C-SPAN. So a couple of things. One, keep yourself muted until it's your time to speak. Also, if you could turn your camera off until it's your time to speak, that way we just have the board members and the applicant appearing before us. It makes our jobs a little bit easier. What's going to happen is I am going to call people up in the order in which they are listed on the public meeting notice. And so we will be having, first, we'll be hearing from Kelly May, then Leanne Howard, then Danielle George, Stephen Guzman, Thomas Christjohn, Jay Rosioski, Robert Dumas, and then Joshua Irwin. After we get done hearing from each of you, we will be meeting in closed session as a board. The board will be making recommendations. And if you receive majority support from the board members present, your application will be forwarded to Governor Evers for final consideration. If Governor Evers rejects your application or you don't receive majority support from the board, your application will be denied. You'll receive a letter from the Pardon Advisory Board stating as such, and you'll have an opportunity to reapply within 18 months of the date of that letter. Yes, Jeff.
I see Joyce Pierce is on the.
Yep, we'll get to her. Yep. Okay. You will also, if you do receive majority support and Governor Evers decides to grant you a pardon, you'll also hear about that within about a month. So the longest waiting part is to get to today. And so everybody should hear hopefully by Christmas in terms of whether or not they're going to be pardoned. After, when I do call you up, you'll have about 5 to 10 minutes. Please be concise and straight to the point. We want to hear from you in terms, we've read your application materials, but we want to hear from you in your own words in terms of how you ended up with a felony conviction, what happened with your sentence, what happened afterwards, and why you believe you've earned the chance to receive a pardon from Governor Evers. Once you're done speaking, you do not need to hang off. Almost every applicant, if not all applicants, sign off after they're done presenting to the board. And I believe that is all of my housekeeping items. So we will be starting first with Kelly May. So Ms. May, if you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself. Kelly, if you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself. Usually if you're calling in by phone, I think it's *6. Looks like she's in the waiting room too.
Okay. How's that?
Yep, that works, Mr. May. So please proceed.
Okay, here we go. What would you like to know?
Well, I want to hear first from you in terms of how you ended up with a felony conviction. I'd like to hear some specifics. Then I want to hear how your sentence went and what happened after your sentence to today and why you think you've earned the chance to receive a pardon from Governor Evers. So basically, we want to hear the Reader's Digest of your life.
Well, basically, you know, I could sum it up 30 years ago now. We're talking a long time ago. I was irresponsible young man. I've changed my life. I believe that I'm somewhat of a pillar in the community now, and I'm just not the person I used to be. I've raised a couple of boys that are, one's in Madison going to college and one's in Oshkosh going to college, and I've come a long ways. I'm the district attorney from Marinette supports me, and Judge Myron, both of them guys he's been on the bench for 30 years or so, and he was a district attorney before that, Judge Myron, and Ellen Bry, who was district attorney. He's been there for about 30 years himself. They both supported me, and they know me, and I've just changed my life around. I've turned my life completely around, and I'm not the irresponsible man that I used to be.
Mr. May, it looks like in terms of on your, beyond the 2 felony convictions in 1998, 2002, and then 2003, you either had arrests Looks like you had a couple arrests for misdemeanor battery and they were related to domestic abuse. And it looks like the first one in 1998, the charge was dismissed. In 2002 was amended to a non-criminal disorderly conduct, which you were convicted and fined for. And then 2003, there was a no prosecution. So what were the circumstances surrounding that? What was happening in your life? Why were you arrested? What was going on?
A tumultuous relationship, I could sum it up like that, and drinking. I don't drink anymore, and that's about when I quit drinking back then and changed my life around completely. It was just a very tumultuous relationship that I was in, and I made some mistakes. I tried to clear that up in my life, and I will not go down that road again.
Did you do AA or any other alcohol treatment?
Yeah, I went to AA and stuff like that for years, and I don't attend as much as I would like to anymore, just because I'm getting older. I'm 60 years old, and I don't get out at all, as a matter of fact, too much. But I did attend a lot of meetings, and I came a long way. I don't drink anymore.
Okay. Well, you beat me to the punch. That was going to be my question. Questions from the board? Jeff?
Good morning, sir. So in 1987, you got your first felony for the delivery of some marijuana. Admittedly, not, in the grand scheme of things, not the worst crime in the world, but you got convicted, you get a felony, you're on probation, but then 5 years later, you have all these guns in your house. You're not out in the community with them, but also you have some marijuana and some cocaine. So I'm trying to understand why the first felony didn't, get you to change your life and stay away from guns. Given that you were a convicted felon, you weren't allowed to have any guns, even hunting rifles or anything else, and the marijuana and the cocaine. Why didn't that first felony take care of it?
My total irresponsibility, I suppose, would sum it right up. I'm not thinking the way I think nowadays. I messed up, and I was very irresponsible, and I was drinking and partying type of individual, and I've just changed since then. I'm a different person.
So it looks, though, from your earlier comments, you didn't change until almost 10 years later in 2002 or 3 when you said you stopped drinking. What caused you to finally change 10 years later?
My two sons, I suppose, raising my two sons, and just finding out that drinking is not the way to go. I mean, I don't know how else to tell you. It's caused me so many hard times in my life that I just gave it up and went in another direction. I completely changed my life and went in another direction because it was causing me nothing but troubles. Drinking is what it was, and that's why I quit just doing everything. And I don't have no statement in front of me or anything like that, but I've changed, and I don't do what I used to do. It's been a long time, and since I've jaywalked, I don't know how else to put it, but it's been a long time since I've done anything where I don't accept my actions and am responsible for everything that I do.
Thank you.
Other questions from the board for Mr. May? All right, well, thank you, Mr. May, for appearing before us. And is it, you heard me say at the beginning, you'll hear from the pardon board in about a month in terms of outcome of the process, but appreciate your time and hope you have a good day.
Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. All right, next, let me see if we have our next applicant. We're actually gonna jump back to somebody we were having trouble getting a hold of in the first session. So Joyce Pierce, I think we'll go back to you. So Joyce, if you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself and turning on your camera.
Hello.
There we go. All right, well.
I was on my way to work.
Oh, not a problem. Not a problem. Well, thanks for making time on your way to work. You've heard how it went last time. So just quickly, in terms of how did you end up with a felony conviction? What happened with your sentence and afterwards? And why do you think you've earned the chance to receive a pardon?
Okay, that happened like I was about 18 years old, so just getting away from my parents, and I was just trying to come up with ways to get by. It was really something I honestly probably shouldn't have done. I learned directly after, before even being sentenced, that that was the wrong thing to do and the wrong way to go about, you know, getting what I need. I did have a baby at the age, he was 1. So it was a wrong decision and I shouldn't have made. From there, since then I had I believe my battery charge was before that. So those are the only 2 serious crimes that I've committed. I've of course had been pulled over and stuff like that before, but not even too much with that. I did have a hard time on probation, kind of getting to see my PO and that thing. So I didn't see my PO for some time, but I did clear that up and I got released off papers. And from there, like, I've been working in childcare for 20 years now. So I've been a director for 10 years. And the main reason I wanted to do the pardon was because I wanted to open my own family daycare. And I didn't realize it was still, I had to go through this process to do it. So that's why it actually took me so long to do it, because I've always been into childcare. And it was a big part of me, and that kind of hurt me from years ago, what happened. And I'm kind of like, you know, it held me back a lot. That one thing did help me back a lot. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Right. Questions from the board? Jeff?
Whose checks were these and how'd you get them? And
there were some guys kind of basically going around the neighborhood saying they wanted some, basically trying to get us ways to get some money.
so they provided the checks and you just signed them and cashed them?
Yes.
Nate or Noble?
Good morning, Ms. Pierce. It indicates here that you would like to open a daycare. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Like I said, I've been in childcare for 20 years. I worked as a teacher half of that time, and I've been a director, still am, 10 years now. And I do very good. I've led a lot of teachers on to better journeys from working with me. A lot of supervisors, I've started being supervisors from teachers. It's just something I really enjoy doing. The kids love me. The person that I work for, he's a really good person. He's gave me the opportunity to do what I do best. And it's really my life at this point. I have 4 kids and they're here with me not all the time, but they're even teenagers. So they kind of grew up with me as the leader that I am. And it's pretty much most of all I know how to do.
Mm-hmm. Just another follow-up, if I could here. It mentions that another reason why you're seeking a pardon is to, to bear arms to protect your family. Is there a specific threat, or is that just something in general that you would like to, bear arms to protect your family?
With all the stuff that's going on right now, I never really thought, about having, because I couldn't, because I was a felon, but I never really felt the need to protect myself. And now with everything going on, that is something that, I would like the right back to do.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Other questions from the board? Myrna.
Thank you. So there was something in your record that said there was a child abuse issue, but it wasn't, what you didn't report it on your disposition?
Okay, so that's the battery that I spoke of earlier. When I first had caught the charge, I was 17, and I was I was in adult court at that time, and the girl that I was fighting, she was 15 or 16, but we were all friends. We were all about 15, 16, 17, 18, and that's the reason it said child abuse. But I did get it discharged to a misdemeanor battery.
So she was only 16? That one.
Yes. I was 17, yes.
Okay.
Yes, and I have problems with that a lot too. When I did used to go to different jobs, I would always have to go get disposition. I said discharge. The disposition regarding that.
One question I have for you, Ms. Pierce, is it looks like you had a 2011 arrest for resisting and obstructing. Can you describe what happened there? What's the circumstances?
That was after I haven't seen my PO, and I lied about my name because I didn't want to go to jail. Because I knew that day would come. I knew it would come. I didn't know when or how I was going to get it over. And that day, I was with a friend. We were at a bar, and she had a friend, the owner, somebody that was inside, and she was waiting outside for him because she wanted to talk to him. We didn't do anything wrong, but he ended up calling the police, and that's how that happened.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? All right, well, thanks for appearing before us, Ms. Pierce. And as I've said before, you'll hear from us in about a month in terms of the outcome of today's process, but hope you have a very good day and weekend.
Thank you, you all too.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, next we will go to, let's see if we have him, Leon Howard. Let's see. Do not see Leon. All right, so we'll work on getting Leon on board. Danielle George. If you're calling in, you just need to star mute yourself or star 6. All right, is this Leon or Danielle?
This is Danielle.
All right, Danielle.
Danielle George.
All right, well, thanks for being with us this morning. Danielle, you've heard how this goes. So, just to start with, if you could concisely state, how you ended up with a felony conviction, what happened with your sentence, and what's happened since then in terms of why you think you've earned the chance to receive a pardon. So please proceed.
Yeah, I have 2 felony convictions prior to a crime burglary, 1995. That happened. I was working at Hardee's, me and a friend working at Hardee's, and he did closing. He decided to get to go back into Hardee's while it was closed, and kind of ransacked the place. I was with him. He gave me a ride home, and on the way home, he took a VCR from the place, from Hardee's, and on the way home we got pulled over, and the police looked for found the VCR, and that's how that happened. My second one is intent to deliver cocaine. That happened 2005, and that happened 2005. I haven't done anything like that since. Since then, I've been a realtor. I work at Palermo's. I'm a pretty good citizen now. I haven't been in too much trouble since then.
Mr. George, can you talk a little bit about that 2005 felony in terms of the intent to deliver cocaine? What specifically happened? Had you been dealing for a while? Can you just kind of fill me in a little bit?
No, I hadn't been dealing for a while. It was just something that it came about, in the area I lived in, short on money. My girlfriend was pressing me. I was working a lot, and didn't have a lot of money, and that came along. I sold something and made a profit from it, and it made more money at that time. I made more money at that time. It was a short stint that I had, and I was driving up the street, and I got pulled over for a minor traffic offense, and I had the drugs on me, and one thing led to another. They found the drugs, and I went immediately to jail, and so it pretty much happened because short on money and being pressed by my by my girlfriend to make more money, and I just got involved in that, and it wasn't long that I even did it. I got caught like right away, so therefore I just feel like it wasn't meant for me to do that. I learned my lesson from that, and it was horrible how that happened. So I had previously applied for a pardon before it even happened.
Any questions from the board? Jerry?
Mr. George, when you were arrested in 2005, the police report says your 3-year-old child was in the car with you?
Yes.
That's true?
It is true. That is true.
What is your relationship with that child at this point?
Oh, at this point, yeah, he's 19 years old. He goes to Winneteche College. He's 16. He plays basketball out there. We have a good relationship. I love him. He went on to prosper, and hopefully goes to the NBA pretty soon. And
wow.
Yeah, he's 16. Plays for Winneteche. He's D1. So he went to Wisconsin Lutheran here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and we're pretty close, very close.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? All right, well, thank you, Mr. George, for appearing before us. You'll hear from us about a month in terms of the outcome of this process, but appreciate your time and have a good day.
Okay, you too. Do I hang up now?
Yep, you can hang up. Yep, no need to
okay.
no need to stay on. All right.
All right, thanks.
I'm gonna try to see if we have Leon Howard again. Leon? Doesn't look like it. So we will then proceed to Stephen Guzman. Stephen, are you on?
Yes.
All right. Well, welcome, Stephen. If you wouldn't mind, if you have a camera, you can turn it on now. Usually if you're using a phone or...
It says the host has disabled it. Okay.
Oh, there we go. All right. Well, you've seen how this works, Mr. Guzman. So, concisely state, how you ended up with a felony conviction, what happened afterwards in terms of your sentence, and why do you think you've earned the chance to receive a pardon? So please proceed.
Okay. As I stated on my pardon application, when I was a teenager, roughly 16, got involved with wrong stuff, as like a lot of people do. I guess I was coming from a basketball game, got into a confrontation with an individual. I thought he had a weapon on him. I pulled out a gun. I fired a shot toward the ground. He ran away. Police came the following day. They came and picked me up, told me that the individual got struck in his lower calf above his ankle. They said what I thought was a weapon in his pocket turned out to be a concrete brick. Was charged with first degree reckless endangering safety. Because of that, I was waived into adult court from the Children's Court Center. What comes about it is the judge sentences me to the maximum term of 9 years prison. Started my time through there for maximum security. all the way down to minimum and then eventual release. During my time there in prison, I finished high school, finished vocational school. I graduated twice from Moraine Park Technical College, one for welding and one for production manufacturing. Even made the newspaper for taking college courses while incarcerated as a Wisconsin inmate. Took programs for conjugal group interventions programs and anger management. Started learning and investing. Actually, back then, you could actually buy Series EE bonds, which I started to do. That was my first investment, actually. Spent a lot of time in the library there, learning a lot of things that would help me once I was released. I was paroled after about 5.5 years of incarceration. I had a parole officer named Carl Stafford who also gave a letter of recommendation. He was a very good PO. He had a lot of knowledge. He was with me the whole time I was on parole for the other 3.5 years. Helped me transition back into the community very well, during which I gained employment, knew a Rubbermaid. I had children. I bought my first home, continued investing. At the time, my mother was in a wheelchair, so I took a lot of time to spend taking care of her until she passed away. And obviously, you sign up for selective service just in the event that I was called upon. After completing parole, I had no violations. By the time I was discharged, I went through a little bit of a challenging period where my sons were removed from their mother from Child Protective Service. They moved in with me. They've lived with me ever since they're roughly about 3 or 4 years old. I met my girlfriend, which is of today. I had another child with her. She already had an existing child as well, who I raised since she was 1 year old. And we've basically been a family since. Her daughter might not be my biological child, but I raised her like my own. And it was to the point that that even she changed her last name, went to court, changed her last name because she felt that, you know, I was her father. And from there, has the same last name as myself and her other siblings. I also, since I've been out, I go through the World Vision program. I have a sponsored child in Peru that I obviously, sponsor. I became a union officer with the United Steels Workers because I felt the need because I needed to be more involved with workers' rights, and I want to be one of the chief stewards that actually had a reputation of helping people with matters in the employment sector. I continued working there for roughly 19 years. I moved my way up all the way from entry level, labor to a mechanic and overall coordinator of the factory, and pretty much ran it on my own at one point. From there, I've always gotten high regards and high marks from a lot of people that I associate with daily, mostly coworkers, because I work a lot. My daily life now is roughly, with travel time, 14 hours at the workplace. So I'm always basically at work. It's been like that for many years. I've always, my children are getting older now, obviously, and during the course of the time when they were in school, I participated in a lot of school events. They were in all kinds of sports, AAU leagues. So I've kind of traveled the country. I've kind of did a lot of things with them, being the best dad I can possibly be, and keeping them in line. And obviously, I don't want them to go through anything that I personally went through as a kid going into my adult years. I continue investing through brokerage, banks, exchanges. Recently joined a real estate corporation, kind of like basically wealth building experiences type deal. And just becoming more educated, individual in general, and a productive member of society, of course. I use a lot of these things that I've learned throughout the time and experiences. When I come across younger individuals, especially in their late teens to early 20s, I really do put a lot of effort to educate these individuals to become productive members as well, giving them a lot of advice that helps them build themselves up so that they don't find themselves falling short into, again, things that I've been involved with myself. Because I feel that there is a greater need in the community, obviously, to have individuals help the younger generation understand that there are better ways to live life than some of the stuff that we see out here going on in today. And I definitely don't want people doing that, yet alone anybody I know personally. I guess, like I said, I use my experiences to just, help as many people as I can with the situations they may be coming across in their own lives. And I guess that's part of being a more productive member of society in general. Young people involved, obviously. I guess.
I think that's good, Mr. Guzman. We'll open it up for questions. You're
Okay, yeah. Go
You're
ahead.
very thorough. One question I have for you, and I know this was, the felony was a long time ago, right? It was,
About 25 years.
25 years ago. Were you ever in contact with the victim? Did you ever, or is this
No. It's one of those like it was kind of like a thing that I didn't know him. Like I said, I just seen a man come out of an area. I was coming out of a different area. He had did something with his hand, obviously like exchanging signs, but I was paying attention more to what he had in his pocket at the time. And then, like I said, I never met the guy in my life. I didn't know who he was. I just know he was coming toward me, and I had a reaction. It's wrong. It doesn't matter how I paint the picture. It's wrong, and it was illegal, and I have to take responsibility to that. Obviously, I'm remorseful for it, of course, and I accepted obviously the judge's verdict and sentence with that. I never appealed it. I felt that that's the way to accept responsibility is you accept what the judge gives you, and you move on from there.
Okay. Cindy.
Just to follow up on Ryan's question, did you say that you fired one shot into the ground? Did I hear that correctly?
There was when I pointed the gun, it actually discharged 3 times, but it was toward the ground. One of them struck him in the lower calf above the ankle. That's kind of what happened.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Noble.
Mr. Guzman, just to follow up, you mentioned that you earned college credits and that was well publicized. Have you followed up on that or plan on continuing your college education?
Well, I did that when they had the out-of-state transfers back in the 90s with Wisconsin sending us to Texas. And while I was there, that's where I got in contact with someone at Milwaukee Area Technical College. They were doing correspondence courses. Started taking courses like English, the general ones that they had available. And when I was done with that, obviously I get the credits. And then when I got back to Wisconsin and I was transferred to Fox Lake Correctional at that time, Moraine Park Technical College was on site, and that's where I applied and continued it and graduated twice from Moraine Park Technical College using that.
Okay. All right, thank you.
No problem, thank you.
Jeff?
Yeah, so I'm still confused. When you first described this, and this is important because what I heard you say is that you have gone around and talked to people about your experience and what happened to you and how you've changed your life.
Yes.
When you first described this, you said you fired the gun once. Then in response to Cindy's question, you said that the gun discharged 3 times, but the complaint says 5 times. So I'd like some clarity on that. And then also, why were you walking around with a gun in the first place?
Well, I was, I guess to clarify the shots, it was 3. That is the truth. When I fired it, discharged 3 times. And as far as the firearm, I had gotten robbed a couple times before, and I just kind of kept it like a small pocket pistol for protection. And that's kind of why I had the gun in the first place. It was just a small 22 caliber. It's kind of like what I was doing with it. Other than that, I never used it on anything other than that incident.
Did you plead guilty or did you have a trial?
No, I pled guilty.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other, or Jerry?
Mr. Guzman, yeah, you went to a maximum security prison when you were 17?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. At Green Bay?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? right, well, thank you, Mr. Guzman, for sharing your story with us. And as you've heard me say a couple of times, you'll hear from us in about a month in terms of the outcome of this process, but appreciate your time and hope you have a good day.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, next. Looks like we now have Leon Howard on the phone. So Leon, now is your opportunity to appear before the board. Can you hear us?
Yes.
All right, great. Thanks, Mr. Howard. Well, as you've heard it a couple of times, what we'd like to hear from you is how you end up with a felony conviction. And, we are interested in the specifics, what happened with your sentence and what happened afterwards and why you think you've earned a chance at a pardon. So please proceed.
Okay. Good morning. First, I would like to thank you for this opportunity. Well, as you know, my name is Leon Howard. I'm a citizen of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm here today for the case I got 9/28/99 with sentence of possession of intent to deliver, 500 grams of marijuana. I have been an honorable citizen with no more arrest or in any trouble during the 18 months of my probation. Since my sentence, I became a different young man. I saw life differently. I had just had one baby at the time and didn't want to raise my little angel into an environment I was raised in with drugs, no education, and prostitution. I started working temp jobs during the time until I got hired permanently to a good paying jobs and been working ever since, now with 2 jobs. When time went on, I struggled and continued to do the right things in life. I took time to go back to school to receive my HSED. I have participated in several back to schools events for the neighborhood. I also work with Milwaukee Reservation in the summer program, giving away hot food to kids. And by giving me a pardon, this will give me endless opportunities, such as going back to school to get into a career of any choice. I realized one bad decision made this happen, and I have lived with it, but all the good decisions I made have made more positive things happen for me too. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Howard. Questions from the board? All right, well, hearing none. Don't worry, that's usually a good sign, Mr. Howard. So thank you for your time and for your application. And as you've heard me say quite a few times, you'll hear from us in about a month in terms of the outcome, but have a good day and weekend.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, and take care.
Bye.
All right. Next, it looks like we are to Thomas Christian. So Thomas, if you wouldn't mind, now is your opportunity. Can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Just fine. All right, well, you've heard how this goes, so now's your opportunity, so please proceed.
My name is Thomas Weston Christian. I'm 58 years old. I'm trying to get a pardon for the mistake I made on July 17, 1996. And I was sentenced to 120 days in the House of Correction and 2.5 years probation. I paid the victim's insurance company a monthly payment for 10 years. After 10 years, they settled on a lump sum. I took care of that. And I've been out of trouble for maybe besides some sort of a traffic ticket, 20 years. I have a 16-year-old son who is my best friend and spend a lot of time with. Just want to get a pardon to show him that people that make mistakes can right them and that the law does work. That's why I'm trying to get a pardon right now.
Any questions from the board? Cindy?
Good morning. In your statement in your packet, you talk about the car accident and the leaving the scene and the impact that had on you and your family, but you don't address at all the impact that had on the victim that you hit and that woman's family. Can you
Yes.
talk about?
I had a letter all written out to Mrs. Cadal on how sorry I was, and my attorney suggested I not send it. So she never received my letter. But I was truly sorry. At my sentencing, the judge asked me if I had anything to say. I stood up and I told him I was ashamed of myself. I embarrassed my family, and I didn't give a it what he did with me. He took 30 days off my sentence for saying what I said, and I ended up with 80 days in the House of Correction. And I was truly sorry, and to this day, I'm still sorry. It should have never happened. We were both going along at 30 miles an hour. There was some railroad tracks. For some reason, she came to a complete stop. I was about 20 feet behind her. I looked up, and there she was. Bam, and I hit her. I just panicked, and I took off. But I was never left my mind. I was truly sorry that I did that, and I still am today.
Thank you.
Jeff?
So following up on that, have you had a chance to see the letter that that the victim's daughter wrote? She was in the car as well, but she wasn't the one injured. Have you seen the letter?
I received. I didn't receive it, but I think it was read in court. Not sure. But I remember something about a letter, but it was so long ago.
Yeah, no, this would be, sorry, this will be in response to your pardon application. The pardon board, the people from the governor's office reached out to the victim. She has died, the elderly woman has died, but her daughter wrote a letter, essentially at the end of it, saying that she had no problem with you getting a pardon. But she also described that this had a life-altering effect on her mother, and that she ultimately, in her opinion, died from the complications that were exacerbated by this car accident.
Yes,
So on the one hand, there's this major forgiveness by the victim's daughter, but also an acknowledgement or a statement about how badly this
was 84 years old, and I was told she didn't have a seatbelt on, and if I went to hit her, none of this would have happened. So I take total responsibility, and I don't blame them for accusing me or blaming me for anything, because it was totally my fault. I was behind her, and the law states if you hit someone from behind, it's 100% your fault, and I agree with that.
All right, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. I do have one other question. I noticed that you got a pardon from the Oneida Nation.
Yes, I plan on retiring up there, and a lot of this stuff is holding me back as far as voting rights and things that happen on the reservation. But when it comes down to it, I'm trying to show my son that things can change, things do get better, and people can change and stuff like that. So this is mostly for my kids.
Thank you.
That's the plan, is to retire on the reservation, and this has a lot of things to do with me. Our reservation was divided into 3, in New York, Wisconsin, and Canada, and I would like to travel to the other 2, and there's a couple of things holding me up with this and that too. And getting jobs. I've had to use jobs as a stepping stone, but these felonies holding me back. I'm a truck driver. I worked during the day and went to night school to get my CDLs, and now I'm driving a semi. I have a home improvement business of my own for 20 years. I work. All I do is work and take care of my kids. I helped put 3 of them through college. And I always wished that I could talk to Mrs. Cadal's daughter or her, but it never happened. But I would truly like that, to tell them how remorseful I am and how sorry I am. And accidents do happen, and stupid things and bad decisions, and that's what I made. I made a bad decision. And I've paid for it. I've paid, well, the money shouldn't be the issue, but I paid a lot of money, thousands and thousands of dollars for my bad decision, and I've hurt people. It was all my fault, and I own up to it.
Jerry, you had a question?
My question was about the Oneida pardon, so I'm good.
All right. Any other questions from the board? All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Christian, for appearing before us today. You'll hear from us.
I'm sorry for wasting your time. I appreciate your
You're
time.
not wasting our time, so that's why we're here. But thank you and have a good day.
You too. Bye.
All right. Next, let me see. It looks like we'll be hearing from Jay Rosioski. So Jay, if you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself and turning your camera on. All right, we'll try Jay in a little bit. We do not have Robert DeMoss with us, so we will jump to you, Josh Irwin. So Josh, if you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself and turning your camera on. There we go.
Good morning.
Good morning. Well, you've seen how this works, so I'll hand things over to you.
So 14 years ago, I was convicted of second-degree reckless endangering safety. Basically, was at a bar with some friends, got into an altercation, ended up following the people in the vehicle, and one of my passengers took a glass bottle and threw it through their side window. And then police showed up. They pulled over a couple other vehicles, and I turned around and left. And a few months after that, I found out about an arrest warrant in the newspaper and went and turned myself in. I served 90 days of Huber and 3 years of probation. I didn't have any problems with that. And then since then, I was a carpenter for 10 years, and I've owned my own business for the last 7 years of trucking. I'm married for 9 years. I have 2 kids, 6 and 8 years old, and I'm an active member in the community, and that's pretty much my story.
Questions from the board? Cindy?
Questions, Mr. Irwin. So you fled the scene after this incident with the other vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. And then is it true that law enforcement went to your house and you wouldn't respond to them?
I was not at my house. I was not there when they came.
Okay.
Because my parents were divorced. So
Okay.
I was between 2 houses.
Okay. And then the next following day you turned yourself in, is that?
Yes.
Do I have that right? Okay. In your, I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
All I said was yes.
Okay. In your packet, you include a letter from a friend of yours, Eric.
Yes.
And he, you've seen the letter?
Yes.
Okay. And he writes about that incident. I assume he wasn't present that night?
No, he wasn't. 2 other people that were present no longer talked to. I actually reached out to the one that threw the glass bottle before I even went through my initial hearing to see if he would claim it, and he wouldn't. There was really no way to prove it, so I took the fall for that. And then I actually reached out to him again for writing a letter for the pardon, and basically fell on deaf ears again. So
okay. So the criminal complaint talks about, you know, that there was the incident at the bar and then blocking them from leaving the parking lot and then following very closely and banging into the van and then actually trying to force the van off the road. I mean, this was a long incident that went on, and is that accurate?
I never hit their vehicle. There was never any damage done as far as vehicle to vehicle. I did follow them, and I don't have a good reason for any of it. We were drinking and made a poor judgment call and poor decision.
Was it true that at one point the van was stopped, and you and your friends got out of your vehicle and banged on their van? Did that
Yes.
happen? Okay, so there was some contact with the car, and of course, there would have been the damage to the smashed window, right?
No, the smashed window was from the glass bottle that was thrown.
Right. So I mean, when you say you never hit their vehicle, or there was no damage to their vehicle, I mean, I'm just trying to.
Yeah, there was damage as far as the glass bottle, but yeah, I know in the initial report, they said that I had hit their vehicle with mine. That's what I was just trying to clear up.
Okay, but you did physically hit their vehicle with your fists, or?
We were basically banging on the doors to tell them to open up.
Right. And can you imagine how terrifying that must have been to them?
Yeah. Yes.
So back to the letter of support, because I just want to get to this again. You've seen this letter from your friend. And when I read that letter from your friend, it seemed to me that it really minimized the incident. It talks about, you should have got a misdemeanor charge. This was you never had a weapon, and you didn't use your vehicle as a weapon. And, to my mind, this is a road rage incident where the vehicle really was kind of used as a weapon. So my question to you is, do you agree with your friend's assessment of what happened that night?
No, probably not, because he wasn't there.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So, good morning, sir. I want to go back to something you said, that your friend who was in the car is the one who threw the bottle.
Yes.
But here's the concern of the issue I have with that. According to the complaint, the damage that was done to the victim's vehicle was their passenger side window.
Yes.
In order for your van, the truck you were driving to do that, you would be driving parallel to her on the right side, to the right of her vehicle. It would be impossible, I think, or it seemed to me, for your passenger to throw a bottle out of their window and hit the passenger window of the truck. It would seem more likely that it came out of your window, which is what the victim says happened.
It did come out of my window. It wasn't thrown from the passenger seat. He was in the back seat of the truck.
And he reached up and threw it through the driver's side window.
Correct. Because they were stopped in a live lane of traffic, and I basically pulled on the shoulder next to them.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Myrna?
Thank you. Mr. Irwin, do you still drink?
Occasionally, but not like I used to in my early 20s.
Occasionally.
Yeah.
And then after this happened, did you get any kind of help with AODA or some kind of counseling for drinking?
No, I quit drinking for 4 years, and now I just drink occasionally.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Irwin, for appearing before us. As you've heard me say a couple of times, you'll hear from us in about a month, but appreciate your time and hope you have a good day.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. We'll try to get Jay Rosioski one more time here. So Jay, if you could unmute yourself and turn your camera on. Let me see if we can have somebody reach out. Just 1 second. All right, Diane's calling him, so.
And we've never heard from Mr. Dumas.
We did, he got moved. We're gonna move him to the next hearing.
I mean, next month?
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, I guess I did. Sorry, I did say that. Yeah.
yep. All right, well, we'll give Jay another minute here.
I'm here on the phone.
Oh,
I
perfect.
guess it's not working. I've never done a Zoom and
Oh, not a problem. You're not the first one to run into a few difficulties like this. So, so Jay, you've heard at least, I think, how this occurs. So what we're interested in now is hearing from you in terms of how you end up with a felony conviction, what happened afterwards, and why do you think you've earned a chance at receiving a pardon? So please proceed, Jay.
Okay. Hi, my name is Jay Rosioski. I have 6 DUIs on my record. 2 of them are felonies. I had a bad drinking problem and didn't realize it until I was arrested and went to prison. It was a hard lesson for me to learn, but it was a wake-up call to understand I had to make a change in my life for myself and others. But while I was in prison, I did everything in my power to get all the help I could get to better myself. I had no tickets or time in the hole throughout my sentences. I kept to myself. I believe I was revoked when I was arrested for my 6th DUI. I was still on supervision for my 5th. I stayed in contact with my supervisor until I was released for both felonies. When I was released from prison, my sister brought me to a church to stay sober and stay out of trouble. I also attended meetings. I worked with her, worked at the church, and helped elderly patrons from the church, friends, and neighbors until I landed a job. I was a janitor, maintenance help for 7.5 years at Wausau Equipment until let go. Found a landscape job as an employee to start, then I went to a crew lead, and after that I was asked to be a supervisor. I was there for 4.5 years at Anderson Landscape. In April of this year, I changed companies to Trees on the Move as a lawn maintenance crew lead, and I will be plowing snow come this winter. And the reason why I'm applying for a pardon, for the chance to have a clean and clear record, to feel whole and free again from my past lifestyle. I feel that I have become a model citizen throughout the years since my release from prison and supervision. I have been sober for 17 years come January of 2022. Family and friends and neighbors keep telling me to apply because of the changes I have made and how far I have come since then. They all back me 100%. I would really like to get my rights back. I am a sportsman and I miss hunting with a passion, so I am asking to be pardoned for that reason so I could go hunting again with my family and friends. And if I am granted a pardon for my felonies and clear my record, I would need also to be cleared so that I could purchase a new gun due to my selling of my guns when I got my first felony, because that's what the law expects you to do. I have always had respect for safety when handling guns and hunting.
All right, thank you. Questions from the board?
Sure.
Jerry?
Are you still involved in AA?
In AA?
Yes.
No, I haven't been there for a couple of years now.
Okay.
Do keep in contact with other people though.
How do you maintain your sobriety?
I work a lot, and I have the so far I haven't had any issues of wanting to drink again, and I know where I'm going to end up if I do start drinking, because I know if I have a drink or more, I know where I'm going to be. I'm going to go back to prison, and that's the last place I want to go right now. My life has changed superly.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? All right. Well, Jay, thanks for appearing with us. I'm glad we were able to work through some of our technical challenges here. You'll hear from us in about a month, but hope you have a good day.
All right. Thank you very much for your time.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. And I think that means we are through our morning session. We're a little bit ahead of schedule, but that's always a good thing. So with that, let me just pull up the open meetings notice so I can read the script correctly. All right. All right. So let me, well, not pulling up, but I'll do it from memory. So do I hear any motions for moving in closed session for purposes of considering specific applications, specific persons, medical history, and financial information and similar information? Is there a first? Jeff, is there a second? Noble? Anybody opposed? Hearing none, we will go into closed session. So I'm going to put Wisconsin I into the waiting room. All right, well, welcome everybody. We'll get started right at 1 p.m. sharp, but I'll go over a few housekeeping items first. So first and foremost, this is being streamed live on YouTube. It's also being broadcast by Wisconsin I, which is the state of Wisconsin's version of C-SPAN. So with that in mind, please mute yourself until it's your turn to appear before the board. Also, if you could turn off your camera until it's your time to appear before the board, that would be appreciated. We'll have the board members' cameras stay on, but for everybody else, if you could turn your camera off, you can do so. There's a little camera icon located usually in the lower left-hand corner of your screen, and you can just press that button. When it does get to be your turn, I'll call your name, and then at that time, please unmute yourself and turn your camera on. We do like to see folks when they're appearing before us. What we are going to be doing today is this is our afternoon session. So we did get to meet with folks this morning, all morning. We have a group of, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of you who we'll be hearing from this afternoon. I'm going to be calling you in the order in which you appear on the public meeting notice. So I am going to be starting with Damian, then David, then Tyler, then Craig, then Albert, Donald, Jamie, and then Terrell, going in that order. When it is your time to appear before the board, again, unmute yourself, turn your camera on. And what we want to hear from you is we sent you some questions, the governor's office did, but we want you to answer those questions. So in short, we want you to concisely, and we've read your application, so we don't need every detail, but we do want to hear from you in your own words in terms of how you ended up with a felony conviction, what happened. We want to hear specifics about it, not just I was convicted or, this crime occurred. We want to know what happened. We also want to know what happened with your sentence and how you turned things around and what's happened in your life since then and why you believe you've earned a chance to receive a pardon from Governor Evers. Once you're done appearing before the board, you can sign off. You do not need to stick around. In fact, just about every, if not all applicants sign off after they're done, so you can go about your day. Once we get through everybody, we're going to be meeting in closed session as a board. During that time, we discuss each application and your presentation to us, and we vote on whether or not to forward your application to Governor Evers. You need majority support from the board members present in order to do so. So that means you need, I believe we have 8 of us here today, so you'll need support from 5 of us in order for your application to move forward. If we do forward your application to the governor, he makes a final determination on whether or not to grant you a pardon. If Governor Evers rejects your application or the board rejects your application, you'll be notified in about a month from today's date of that decision. You'll get a letter from the Pardon Advisory Board informing you that your application's been denied, and you'll have an opportunity to reapply in 18 months from the date of that letter. If we recommend your application and Governor Evers approves it, you'll receive a pardon. Both of those things, whether it's a denial or a pardon, you'll hear about it in about a month. So hopefully by the time Christmas rolls around, you'll know whether or not you've been pardoned. I'm going to do a quick round of introductions, and then we will start with our first applicant. So in addition to myself, again, my name is Ryan Elstone, Governor Evers' Chief Legal and Chair of the Pardon Advisory Board. We also have with us Judge Jeff Kremers. He's a retired judge from Milwaukee County Circuit Court. We have Nadia Perez-Reyes, who is the Assistant Deputy Secretary of the Wisconsin Department of Children and Families and is a former public defender. We have Cindy O'Donnell with the Wisconsin Department of Corrections. We have Noble Ray, who is a consultant for law enforcement agencies across the world on implicit bias training, among other things, and is the former chief of police for the city of Madison. We have Nate Holton, who is the director of diversity for Milwaukee County Transit. We have Jerry Hancock, who's the director of the Prison Ministry Project and is a former state and county prosecutor. And we also have, last but not least, we have Myrna Warrington, who is works in vocational rehabilitation and is also a tribal council member. And with that, we will start with our first applicant. So again, and that will be with Damien. So Damien, if you wouldn't mind turning your camera on and unmuting yourself. You're our lucky first applicant, so you get to set the tenor for everybody else. So as I said at the beginning, if you can describe how you ended up with your felony conviction, what happened with your sentence, and then what have you done since then in order to earn a chance to receive a pardon. So Damien, please proceed.
Okay. Well, I was pretty young when it happened. This was over 25 years ago. And I had gotten hit by a car about a year before this happened, and I still continue to have health problems from that. And at the time, I was smoking some marijuana to help with pain. And I had some roommates, and we were sharing the marijuana, and that's what happened. I ended up getting caught, and I got a possession with intent because I had over 2 ounces, but under 1 pound. I never was really selling it to anybody. I mean, I was sharing it with my roommates. And that was about it. I got 4 months of jail time and 3 years of probation. I was released from probation early. I did do some AODA, and I did some community service work from that. That's the only issue I've ever had with the law outside of basic traffic before or after. And it's been, like I said, over 25 years. I have children now. I had a same job for a long time. I worked as a bartender for about 15 years. I worked did computer related stuff for about 8 or 9 years, and that's about it. There's probably a lot of things that I would have liked to have tried to do if I had not had this issue, but I did. So if you want to know any more specific, you want to know specifically more about what happened at the time that it happened?
Well, tell us a little bit about what has happened since then.
I mean, like, I haven't been in any trouble with the law. I've been kind of stuck in the some of the things that I thought I would be able to do with my life. I never really went out and explored some of the other things because I just knew that they were limited to me. I think that I internalized a lot of a lot of this punishment and probably made it a little harder on myself. But this is kind of what I do. So.
And what do you think a pardon will help you with, Damian?
You know, I know you guys don't want to hear that. I just want to be pardoned because I want to be pardoned. But
no, that's legitimate. That's.
I mean, I want to show my children that I want to show them that they can accomplish a lot of things in life, and I think I'll be a better role model of them to be able to do so if I don't have such limitations on me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Questions from the board? Cindy?
Good afternoon. So the arrest happened in October of 1996, and you were not sentenced until just about 2 years later. What was that gap about? Do you know?
I mean, I could speculate. I don't think that they really, I don't know why they came to me in the first place. I've always suspected that they had a tip about something, and they thought that they were going to find a sophisticated drug dealer. And when they found a couple of ounces of marijuana, they were disappointed, and they figured if they gave me enough time, I would continue to commit a crime and they would find something, but there's nothing to find.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? All right, well, thanks, Damian, for appearing before us. You'll hear from us in about a month for the outcome of this process, but hope you have a good day and a good weekend. So thank you.
All right, thank you for your time.
All right, next up, we are going to hear from David Stout. David, are you there? All right. So welcome, David. You've now had an opportunity to see how this works. So now's your opportunity to share your story with us, and then I'll open it up for questions. So please go ahead.
My name's David Stout. I was 17 years old, and I was hanging around the wrong people, and was convicted of a burglary, which is a felon. And I did 60 days in jail for it, 5 years probation. I did get out 55 days, or 5 days early for good behavior. I was a trustee in the jail. Other than that, I was young and dumb and didn't have a father raising up. He left my mother to raise 3 boys. And, my mom had to work 2 jobs. I didn't have very good parenting. So I knew later in life, if I had a chance to raise kids, I'd do it better than I have. I've been married 34 years. I own a home. I raised 2 beautiful girls. I got 7 grandkids.
Mr. Stout, I know this was a long time ago in terms of the burglary case. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened? It sounds like from the documentation, there was a string of burglaries. Did you know the people who you're burglarizing?
Right. My mother kicked me out of home in the middle of winter, and I was homeless. I was living in the snow, and I ran into some bad dude and talked me into hanging out outside while he was burglarizing these houses. And evidently we were arrested and convicted, and I was just, I'm 17 years old. I was stupid.
Mm-hmm. And then kind of fast forwarding a bit to 1997, you have, the conviction for, looks like when you're 35, for riding around on a motorcycle. Can you talk a little bit about that, refusing to pull over?
Well, I didn't know the officer was behind me. I'd been drinking. A lady in front of me, it was a brand new bike. I just got it broke in, and she was doing like 20 miles an hour. I was stupid and decided to pass her. And I wasn't supposed to race the bike till it was broke in. So just another thing, being stupid and dumb, and learned my lesson. I crashed, I hurt my knee. I had road rash on my back, and I had, now I know what you do other to protect yourself.
Okay.
And that, it was a dumb mistake, and I've been riding ever since then. I've never even had a speeding ticket again. I got a different bike, something slower that I don't need to go fast on. So it's just a bad choice. I guess the officer has lights on, but he didn't have his sirens on. I didn't hear him. I would have pulled over. I had nothing to hide. And I was just being stupid.
Questions from the board? Jerry?
Were there people in the houses when you did the burglaries?
No, not that I'm aware of, no.
Any other questions from the board for Mr. Stout? All right, well, thanks for appearing before us, David. As you heard me say, you'll hear from us in about a month in terms of the outcome of this process, but I appreciate your time and have a good weekend.
You too, appreciate everything. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we will be going to Tyler Brown. So Tyler, if you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself and turning your camera on. You've now seen this, so I'm just going to hand things right over to you.
All right, great. I was 24 years old when I received my felony. It was for delivery of THC less than a gram. The issue kind of started when I was young. I had anxiety disorder, some depression issues going on and stuff throughout high school, kind of around a little bit of the party crowd, not too much trouble causers and stuff, but just getting into some things we weren't. And I was definitely self-medicating at that time using cannabis. I'd ended up on probation actually for possession of THC. I forget what the amount was. And I just decided, things have to change. Can't be using anymore, getting drug tested and stuff. And so I had a small amount and I decided to give it to somebody who at the time I considered a friend. I look back and it was just a stupid maneuver. I don't know why the guy had been trying to convince me to give him stuff and this and that. And I just finally went into it and was thinking, oh, this is, kind of me getting out of this lifestyle and stuff. And I didn't know, obviously, that he had a wire on and was a confidential informant because of some serious trouble he got in that I wasn't aware of. I was arrested a month later at a gas station. They charged me with the delivery of THC. So I was, charged with that. And then a year later, that was actually my sentencing date and was given a year in jail and 3 months probation or 3 years probation due to my past record because of having other possessions on it and stuff. And so it kind of added up and that's kind of where it ended up with that charge.
Okay. And what's happened since then?
Well, since then, after that, I internalized it. I had my son's mom, our relationship ended. So then I kind of spiraled, was drinking, smoking more, had some UA issues, things like that, and got myself into a position where I ended up having to go to a treatment facility that was court ordered. And pretty much since then, that was, excuse me, that was 2010. And since then, after that, it's been just an uphill climb. And today I work construction with my father. I have 3 children. My son's up in Duluth at Superior, 9-year-old daughter, a 2-year-old son. Very healthy relationship with my fiance of 10 years. I have been active in the recovery community, leading people to see that these kind of things aren't necessarily, is all end all, and that you can still, climb out of the holes you dug. It is definitely more difficult, but it is doable. So that's kind of where my focus has been, to kind of give back to the community and younger people who I kind of see following that kind of same pathway. Has really helped me, and it keeps me in the mindset of, I could be there any moment with just a few poor choices. So it's a good reminder to go in there and you see people heal. So it's been very helpful. Also, we had started my own music company. We had an apparel company, doing things like that to stay active. I love my creative side and stuff like that. And so that's helped me to kind of stay on a forward path. I've also gotten into health a lot, exercise, yoga, nutrition, just to kind of, help balance my brain and my physical activity. As far as where this has been a deterrent for me, currently right now I'm living back at my parents' house with my family. It's actually been a blessing because we get to be around my parents all the time. They're not elderly, they're just getting older, and the time we have here is very valued by me. But we have had numerous struggles getting into places to stay. We can get into private owned rentals and stuff, but a lot of the time we've been denied by any of the larger corporations due to that felony. And if you know a lot about private rentals, some of the times they're not the best upkeep. They're older homes, high heat. The last one we were living in Minneapolis was infested in mice. So that's actually kind of what brought us this direction. Also living in Wisconsin, outdoors is a huge thing, and hunting is a big thing with family, friends and such, but I've never been able to participate since I was 12 years old. That's the last time I went. And, over the years, my interest has gone up, but it's always just been can't do that with gun hunting anyways. I can bow hunt and stuff, but I don't have individuals that participate in bow hunting. So everyone around here is gun hunters, and I'd really enjoy being able to get out there and do that. Also with job applications, I currently work, as I've said, with my father doing construction. But once he retires, I don't know where I'll go. I don't know if I'll take that over. Running a business, having that stuff on your on a background affects credit. It affects, loans, all that type of thing. And so it'd be beneficial for me whether or not I continue in this industry or I have to go to another one to be able to nail down a good, steady paying job and stuff. I've been denied. I can't even count. I would say at least 100 jobs that I've applied for where I haven't even gotten into that initial phase, because right away it's a no-go with drug felonies for a lot of people. And it's understandable, but it would be very nice to have that blemish off, and just for my own inner feelings, adequacy and just feeling normal, as you could say.
Sure. Questions from the board? Jerry?
Would you talk a little more about your involvement in the recovery community?
Absolutely. I chaired numerous meetings, all the way from down in the La Crosse area, all the way up to Rice Lake area, over to Wausau, and then all the way back over to Minneapolis. Been inactive for about 5 to 7 years. During that time when I was in River Falls, I did a 3-day meeting, or 3 meetings a week. I chaired that meeting, which means setting it up, doing all the, keeping finances and topics, all that. And then I also would mentor the younger people in there. And so at one point in time, I had 4 people under my mentorship, and 2 of them are currently still sober that I know of. Unfortunately, one of them passed away due to the addiction. But it's been something that I've just liked to stay active in the community. There's just something about people who are seeking help for themselves, and being able to lay some path work that, hey, this way kind of worked for me. I've debated about, I've written down and had a lot of discussion about this, about possibly doing something, writing more of my story down and stuff like that, getting it out for others. But as currently, it's just some activity in the sober community.
Well, and Ryan, what do you do for your personal sobriety?
Oh, for my personal sobriety. Well, there's actually quite a bit. Nutrition and health is the main thing. Sticking around solid people. The main foundation is things like timeliness, show up, keep a job, keep healthy things going in, and healthy thoughts also.
Are you going to meetings?
Yes, I do go to meetings. Yes.
How
Yeah,
often?
I don't go as often. I probably attend one. It equals out to like one every week and a half or so, depending on, because there's certain ones that I've found now that really work for me. And then there's certain ones that I kind of tend to avoid. And so I tend the ones that are really, really that I get something out of now. I have not been active with any mentorship in the past roughly year since I've been back in Chippewa, mainly just focusing on actually trying to build a home right now. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Other questions from the board? Tyler, can you talk me, I know this, if I remember right, you said 2010 seemed to be kind of the point in time which you kind of turned the quarter on with sobriety. But, before that, there was quite a bit of interactions with law enforcement.
Absolutely.
I don't want to go through all of these, but there are a few. I just hope you can provide me with a little bit more context. And one was in 2008, Chippewa County, where you had a misdemeanor violating a harassment restraining order.
Yes. Yep. And that was.
Yeah, talk to me about that one.
Yeah, and that was with my son's mother. It actually was, it kind of resulted from a misunderstanding with how things worked. We got in an argument. I was supposed to take my son to a Supercross race over in the Metrodome on Sunday morning, and we had gotten into an argument on Friday night. I had gotten a metal fragment in my eye from construction. I was late to picking him up because I was in the ER, and that resulted us in getting into just kind of a bickering back and forth argument. And I said one choice word to her. I called her something that I shouldn't have and that she really didn't appreciate. And she actually called the Chippewa PD on me. They basically had instructed her that she could get a restraining order. It was issued on that Friday. I didn't, a temporary one, and then we'd have court next week. It was issued on that Friday. Nobody had made me aware of it. So when I showed up there Sunday morning to pick up my son for the motocross race, thinking that some time blew over, things would work out, I was actually in violation of this restraining order and did not know it. So she informed me, told me I had to leave. I went left, got my car, left, and as I was driving down the highway, that's when I was surrounded and subsequently arrested and told, that I was in violation of a no contact order. So that was, fine with me. And as we went through it further, the officer that was investigating or whatever, he basically did not like the way the communication going back. And I don't know how this got used, but he used the text messages, the amount of text messages that were sent between me and her in the previous month. And he used that to be the kind of the dictating factor of the stalking, which we were in a relationship. So it kind of didn't match. And it just ended up, that is actually one of the things that caused me to start going down that self-medicating pathway, because it completely split up the family of, we're, had been together for 5 years. We're planning on getting married. And because of that incident right there, her family basically said, they don't agree with me being around. And so it was just, it was a splitting point from there on.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Brown? All right, well, thank you, Tyler. As you've heard me say before, you'll hear from us in about a month, but appreciate your time and candor with us, and hope you have a good day.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you guys for the chance. Thank you.
All right. Next, we will be hearing from Craig Korn. So Craig, there you are. You've seen this a couple of times now, so please proceed.
Let me take the opportunity to introduce myself in our Menominee language. Craig Korn and Wison, Wapamin in Akayan, Wasa Netotam, Kashitna in its Skiwakin, John Corn Kathnet Mashik, Nanette Pomonika, Nihi Cook, O Matna Mane, Mamachit down the town. I wanted Katani any more on its case, Pierre, Masiope, Mashik, now home. So in my Menominee language, I introduced myself. I said, thank you for all being here today. I've written some notes down. As you can see, in 2001, I had a felony hit and run that involved injury and also involved a minor. That situation, or that happened because of my drinking. I took my stepson to a wrestling meet in Suring. On the way back, while he was there wrestling, I was drinking. We got in a hit and run on the way back. I went to jail for it. I apologized to my stepson. I apologized to Mr. Martin Luther for what I did to him. I was sentenced to 18 months in prison, 18 months probation, which I successfully completed a 6-month alcohol program at DAC, it's called Drug Abuse Correctional Center. That was the second felony was a OWI 5th in 2004. I was on my way back from a Packer game with my nephew, and I got pulled over for reckless driving. That I got sentenced to 18 months in prison, 18 months in probation. I went to the challenge incarceration program and was released in, I think, 10 months. That's kind of a short history of my incarcerations. Question 2 about my behavior. While in custody for the hit and run, I didn't have any issues, no citations, no write-ups, no behavior issues. While in custody or while locked up for the OWI 5th, I had no behavior issues. I completed the challenge incarceration program. So I didn't have no issues. I was never written up for anything, never received any citations. A brief summary of what I've done since then. Since being released in 2004 for my OWI 5th, I returned to work at Menominee Tribal Enterprises. I worked there for 12 years. I have obtained a certificate in welding in the 1, 2, and 3G positions, lumber grading certifications, and first aid and CPR, first responder training. After that, 2016, I moved to a Menominee language immersion trainee program. It's where we train the tribe train workers to be teachers in the immersion school that we're trying to create. So I did that for 1 year, and there was the K5 Menominee language teacher at the Menominee Tribal School here opened up, so I transferred into that position. I worked there for 3 years as the K5 Menominee language teacher. In 2019, I applied and got the maintenance supervisor position here at Menominee Tribal School, which I'm currently, it's my current occupation. In 2011, I ran for Menominee Tribal Legislature. I won. I won a 3-year term. 2 years, I think 2012 and 2013, I was chairman of the Menominee Indian Tribe. And then I won another 3-year term. And during that, I was a vice chairman, a secretary. In 2017, I won another 3-year term, which was 9 years. I completed that 2 years ago, and I just moved on to out of tribal government, tribal politics, and I've just been living life the right way. I've coached flag football, girls softball. I've ref flag football games. I'm currently a full-time employee and a full-time student at Northwestern Technical College. I'm going to get my HVACR degree, my associate's degree. I have a beautiful wife, 4 kids, and 2 grandbabies that I love. Why do I think I should receive a pardon? I know what I did was wrong, and I apologize to everyone that I possibly could. When I went to prison both times, I lost everything. I lost my family, jobs, cars, credit, respect, trust. I lost everything. I did my time with no issues both times, but I've been paying for it ever since. When you're labeled a felon, people don't care if it's violent, non-violent, which class of felon you are. People just think you're a felon and you're a criminal and you're a piece of dirt. And you should never receive a second chance because you're nothing but a convicted felon. That I've run into that a lot in these last 20 years. I've doors slammed in my face. People just don't even give you a chance. So this morning I put down some Netnamo, some tobacco, and I prayed that you guys would see me for the person I've become and not the immature, arrogant, careless person I once was, and that you could find it in your hearts to grant me a pardon. For 20 years, I carried the title of convicted felon. I failed through my actions in the last 20 years. I've earned at least a consideration or a chance for pardons. There are certain boards and jobs in this community that you can't apply for because you're a felon. Again, they don't ask you what class you are, if you're violent, non-violent, none of that. I'd also like to be an inspiration to other Native Americans and to be able to help them if I get pardoned, that, it's possible. It's possible. So with that, I'd just like to thank you guys for your time, and I hope that you see me for the person I've become and not for the person that I used to be.
Questions from the board? All right, well, thank you, Mr. Korn, for appearing before us. And as I've said a couple of times before, you'll hear from us in about a month, but thank you for your time and your statement, and hope you have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we will go to Albert Tyler. Albert, are you on? Oh, there we go. Good afternoon. Mr. Tyler, Taylor, you've seen how this works, so why don't you please proceed?
Thank you. In 2004, I was pulled over when I was 18 years old, and I was arrested for possession with intent to deliver less than 1 gram of cocaine. At the time, I made a foolish decision. I had been denied financial aid from Milwaukee Area Technical College, and I decided to try to take things into my own hands and try to make some extra income, some fast income. And I tried to justify this by saying, well, I'm doing this to pay for college, I'm doing this to pay for books. And obviously, as a result, I've had to carry around the burden of having a felony for my entire adult life. Since then, I've started several successful businesses in the city of Milwaukee, including My Bar Card, Movida, Spanish Tapas and Restaurant, and Soul Lavish, which is a online shoe boutique. With 2 of those companies actually grossing $1 million annually. I've had to carry around this burden my entire adult life. I feel like I can't experience full redemption until, I hopefully this is removed from my record.
Questions for Mr. Taylor? Jeff?
Good afternoon, sir. And I only bring this up because you put it in your application, but you talk about the case and you even give the case number 14 CF 148 involving a case where you got stopped and there was may or may not have been an illegal search. And long and short of it was the case was dismissed.
Yeah.
So I went to look at that case just out of curiosity. I can't find it anywhere.
Yes.
And I can't find any charges against you anywhere in Wisconsin. So
Yeah.
can you help me out here? Did you use a different name or?
No. So this arrest was wiped from the record. It was dismissed with prejudice through a thorough investigation through the state of Wisconsin, body cam, images from the patrol car, and through DNA analysis, it was determined that the firearm had never been in my possession, that I had never came in contact with the firearm. My attorney
I did all that, but are you telling me that you asked them to seal the record somehow or expunge the record?
I was never convicted, so I mean,
I know.
So yes, I believe that the record was sealed. I don't know if it was sealed or just removed, or I don't know exactly how it works. But my attorney and I decided that although this is not something that you can look up, we just wanted to be fully transparent with the board today and be honest as a show of good faith, just to show I had nothing to hide. Obviously, I was exonerated from these charges. And I just wanted to be clear, just in case you guys could look it up. I didn't know if you could or not. I just wanted to be honest about it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Jerry?
Mr. Taylor, are you in Las Vegas now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And going back to the previous question, were you ever charged in this case?
There was an initial charge, but through the investigation, the police officer actually admitted that he had violated my rights, and the original charge was brought up because of the way that he stated that he found this firearm. He exaggerated, and just to be honest, he made a false statement about the initial situation, and because of that, they did have a charge, but the case was later dismissed.
Is it possible that this was resolved at a pre-charging conference?
Yes, it might. Yes, it was.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Taylor? Cindy?
Mr. Taylor, I was really impressed with a lot of the letters from your business associates and some of the creative businesses you've developed. I'm just wondering, with your shoe business now, how has the pandemic impacted that? Has it gone well still for you?
Actually, yes, it has still gone well. We've had to become more creative. Obviously, people are tightening up their budgets, but I have experience in that through my bar card, which was an original idea because of the recession. It had affected a lot of Milwaukee bars and entertainment, which was a big part of our economy. And my partners and I, Aaron Gersandi and Hamad Fardayafar, we came up with a creative way to still, have people be able to enjoy services and be able to enjoy nights. So I did the same thing with So Lavish. We just came up with more creative ways, more different ways for people to still be able to enjoy, going shopping and being able to buy shoes.
Yeah, good for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Taylor, for appearing before us. As you've heard me say a couple of times, you'll hear from us about a month, but appreciate you appearing your time with us and hope you have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we will be hearing from, let's see, Donald Fields. So Donald, if you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself.
Hi.
All right, well, you've seen this a couple of times, Donald, so I'm just gonna hand it right over to you.
First and foremost, thank you guys for having me, for allowing me the opportunity. Tonight. My case was actually a goofy one on my part. My intentions were never to steal a car or to scam anything or anything or whatever the case may be. I just passed my ASVAB test for the Marines. I was working 2 jobs and going to school, helping my mom out with rent and other bills and things of that nature. And we needed a car. So me, not quite understanding the banking system, I went to go get one. And I wrote a check, not knowing that it didn't work as credit systems work. And I was charged with theft auto and writing worthless checks. I fought the case for about 2 years because even though what was on paper is what I did, those weren't my intentions at all. I simply thought that my account would draft and eventually like they would give me the opportunity to pay it back. I know it sounds dumb at 38 years old, having been to college twice and taking financial literacy classes. It sounds very idiotic, but that was my mindset and mentality back then. Like I said, I fought the case. Unfortunately for me, about almost 2 years later, Judge Cruel was and he gave me a state sentence. I think 14 days credit county jail time and probation, restitution, 18 weeks of cognitive intervention, and 18 weeks of anger management. The anger management came because me and my public defender had a spat. You know, she simply just didn't believe me. And I mean, granted, you know, the circumstances or whatever, but I just didn't feel that she would be able to represent me effectively. So I tried to fire her. The judge put her on board as counsel and allowed me to represent myself. I obviously failed, and that's why I'm here today. Since my court case, I hit the ground running. Nothing's really changed. I stayed the course with restrictions, obviously, because I'm a felon. But yeah, I signed with the USA Boxing Association. I won 2 state and national Golden Glove championship titles for the state of Wisconsin. I won a ring 11. I voluntarily took financial literacy classes through Chase Bank and Bank of America. I have 4 accounts with now, just so I wouldn't make the same mistakes again. Better understanding, better education. I've been a youth advocate and a mentor for the Urban League for about 17 years now. Through Racine, Kenosha, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I was named honorary chairman for about 2 years. I was a personal trainer at Dr. Kurt's Sports Complex. Many community outreach projects. I later moved to Indianapolis, Indiana to go to college, first for automotive technology, my associates, but my passion is law enforcement. So I enrolled myself into the IMPD Training Academy, passed with flying colors. But when it got to the point of my background check, obviously I was denied because of such, but I was still receiving job offers from Pendleton Maximum Security Facility, the main township. I held off for a little bit and I went to college again at Ivy Tech Community College in Indianapolis, Indiana for criminal justice and psychology. And was doing great. Straight A's, honor roll, passed flying colors, my transcripts right here. But my advisors told me basically, even if I graduate on time or whatever with the credentials, that I wouldn't be as, I wouldn't go as far as I could because of my background. So I kind of took a hiatus in that. And I continued with boxing. I signed with Major Promotions here out in Vegas. Furthered my certifications as a security officer. I now work as a private security officer for Mandalay Bay. There are casinos and their events and for different celebrities here. I've done tons of community work for the NAACP, for the Andrew Yang Gang.
Looks like we lost you, Donald. It might help if you turn your video off. Sometimes that can help with the quality.
Yeah. Okay.
A little bit, yeah. Sometimes I think yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, like, nothing's really changed. I mean, I stayed the course. My passion is law enforcement, military. All my friends here are cops, whether OVNPD, North Las Vegas Police Department. I train with OVNPD 5 times a week. I volunteer for the Clark County Fire Department. And obviously, I work in law enforcement. I'm the only felony on board. The CEO and president of MGM International Resorts, he personally took a look into my case, analyzed my character and my associations, and they brought me on board. I have a home here in Las Vegas, out in Summerlin. I own 2 cars, paid for in full, no car notes. My credit's great. I'm in a great relationship. My woman, Sasha Light, she's a senior consultant for Liberty Mutual. I've never smoked anything in my 38 years of living. I don't even drink alcohol. You know, I have no addictions, nothing. And I mean, this pardon would just unlock the potential that's already been there. You know, it would grant me the opportunity for promotions, because even though I was granted the position that I am as a private security officer, being a felon, I'm not eligible for promotions or anything of that nature, raises or whatever. And I mean, like, honestly, I just want to finish my education too. You know, schooling is I always tell them I'm a forever student, but you can't go far in criminal justice if you're a felon. You know, I just want to live up to my potential and just to be what, you know, I started off to be. What I made was a silly mistake, you know, but I was simply just trying to help my mother and not understanding the banking system as it was. But I mean, I have 4 accounts now. They're all in great standing. My credit score is 715. I own my home. I own both my cars. I have a Shelby Cobra and a GT Mustang convertible. I'm the chairman of Silver State Mustangs, which is the largest Mustang car club here in Las Vegas. I'm doing pretty well for myself being a felon. So I've never allowed that to be my excuse or justification as to why I can't move forward. You know, there's always a way. But I feel like with this pardon, it would just unlock so much, and I would be able to do so much more for not only myself, but my family and friends involved, you know.
Thanks, Mr. Fields. I have a couple of questions for you. One, if you were pardoned, would you want to go into law enforcement? Is that your goal?
Absolutely. They're actually waiting on me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So one of the things, do you currently own firearms? Because
No,
one of the things
I-
obviously is, you know, when you're a convicted felon, you lose your right to have a firearm. And the reason why I ask is just, you know, one of the things we do is we vet people before they come before us. And, you know, just looking, you know, a couple of your posts on Facebook pages, you have, you know, what appears to be guns. You know, so can you provide a little bit of context or explanation for me? For example, you know, it looks like there's one where it looks like you're holding a rifle.
Yeah, it's a toy gun. I know exactly the post you're talking about. Yeah, that's a toy gun. I think I posted that during what is it? I want to say Independence Day, and just, you know, just a cool post, whatever.
Yeah.
Then my friends commented like, "Oh yeah," I'm like, no. But yeah, it's a toy gun, just for props, just to look cool on that holiday.
Okay. Other questions from the board? Cindy and then Jeff.
I have 2 questions, Mr. Fields. You were placed on 3 years probation, but then you were revoked in 2007. Why was your probation revoked?
Glad you asked that question, because yeah, they told me to answer, but don't bring it up because obviously the case was resolved, whatever. I was acquitted and found not guilty. But long story short, just in the wrong place at the wrong time. My brother called me over to my mom's house because he basically wanted to borrow some money so he can go to the mall. So in going over there to loan him some money, whatever, I went to the bathroom. While in the bathroom, I heard a bunch of arguing and spatting out in the hallway. I went out of the bathroom to see what was going on. It was my brother, and he was surrounded by 3 other guys, and they were basically trying to beat him up. I asked about the situation, like, why are you here? What's going on? Whatever. Just basically trying to diffuse it. They weren't listening to me. My reflexes, I just swung on the guy. He was knocked unconscious, and that was it. I was charged with, I think it was felony disorderly conduct, felony assault, or some other, and another charge. I think it was the youngest one was 17. But they were all like 6'3", 6'5", and I'm like 5'7", you know, with shoes. So, I mean, like, I took it to trial and I was acquitted. You know, I was found not guilty on all charges or whatever. And that was it. I went back to my cell and I thought I was going to be released. But my probation officer, he saw that I had police contact and that he was going to revoke me. And at the time, I didn't understand the situation. I've never been in the courts before. I don't know the processes or anything of that nature. But I was brought before Judge Robert Cruel, the same judge that for the car case or whatever. And he just shook his head. You know, he's like, I don't want to do this, you know. And he asked me, was there ever a moment where I was presented with an alternative to revocation? I didn't even know what that was. It was never communicated to me or anything. So even if I would have tried to pull that card or tried things, that it was too late. So, you know, he once again showed me mercy and he gave me 18 months instead of, like, I think I was facing 15 something years in prison. So I did the 18 months. I ended up getting released off good behavior, and that was that.
Thank you for the answer. I have my second question is, in the application process, it's not required, but one of the things it's recommended is that you attach letters of support. And you've talked to us today about a lot of the activities you say you're involved in, but there's no letters of support in your packet. And I'm wondering why you didn't get any to share with us.
Living in Las Vegas, to go through the whole application process to get it, I had to fly back to Racine, Wisconsin, get the certifications. And, you know, everybody, even Yolanda Adams, who I report to in regards to the Urban League, she lives in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and her schedule was kind of like iffy. And based on my full-time job here and my schooling here for private security, it was just schedule restraints. And I was only in Wisconsin for, I want to say, not even 2 days to get the whole applications together to send it to you guys. And then having to be back here in Vegas to go to work for 12 hours. It was just a difficult process. And then, like, by the time everything was laid to stone, it was just, yeah, everybody was just in their area and it was just impossible for me to get here and get there.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Jeff?
So it looks like you also posted on Facebook, LOL, man, I've been strapping up 18 firearms to date. What's that about?
I'm sorry?
According to,
I didn't hear the mic went up.
sorry, on your Facebook page, it says, LOL, man, I've been strapping up 18 firearms to date. What was that comment about?
Oh no, that's a rap lyric. Yeah, that's a rap lyric. I have a friend here. His name's it's Bass. It's Bass Baby here. He's a local rapper here, and I don't know, like, I don't know when that comment was, but that's definitely. I own no firearms to date whatsoever. Like, I've never even. Yeah.
And you're an unarmed security officer in Las Vegas?
Sir. Yes, here's my letter of office at Mandalay Bay.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions from the board? All right, well, thanks, Mr. Fields, for appearing before us today and taking the time to submit the application. I know it's not an easy process, especially if you're living halfway across the country, but hope you have a good weekend and you'll hear from us in about a month.
Me too. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you all.
All right, next we're going to hear from Jamie Gear. Jamie, there you are.
Hi, everybody.
Well, you've seen this a bunch of times and we're getting down to the end, but now's your opportunity. So please proceed.
I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Jamie Gear, co-owner of Erie Excavating and Landscape with my wife. I've been married 27 years now, which I think is a pretty big feat these days. Takes a lot of ambition, work to keep something like that going. How this all started out is one night a bunch of my friends or whatever, we were all standing on Main Street and talking, and one guy was saying that they broke into a storage shed and they got a bunch of cool stuff, and I'm not gonna lie, it sounded pretty pretty tempting and pretty inviting, so me and a few of my friends decided we were gonna go look for some dirt bike parts. We were pretty young or whatever. That's kind of what we were into, is dirt bikes. And so one guy knew where there was some dirt bike parts in a storage shed, and it turned out that it wasn't in this one, it wasn't in that one, and it wasn't in this one. And he was looking for a carburetor. It's all kind of besides the point. I did the crime. Very ashamed of what I have done. I did serve 4 months in jail. I got 2 years of probation out of it, and I completed that in 6 months. The probation officer was pretty happy with me and what I had accomplished in that time. I currently have 3 children. As I said, we own an excavating business here in Fond du Lac. We deal with hundreds of thousands of dollars. We have employees. I have 76 acres of land with a lake and a cabin. And my son is in the military. He has guns. He's in the Air Force. I would like to be able to take my children hunting, on our own land. As far as giving back to the community, we have sponsored, we had our own soccer team since, about 15 years. We've had an area excavating soccer team for Brownsville. I have been able to obtain a foster license. We have hosted exchange students. I am a journeyman operating engineer in the local 139. I would like to run for the town board for town president. I don't agree with everything that is going on in my town, and this really restricts me. As I said, we do have a lot of land. I do have a lot of animals running around, coyotes, raccoons. It gets a little old, calling somebody to come take care of that stuff for me, Just last night I left, and there was a coyote laying next to our driveway. Our driveway's like 1,700 feet long. We live way back in the woods. We're very rural. So I would like to be able to dispose of nuisance critters like that myself. My felony record does hamper me doing business past a certain degree. We do handle a lot of big money transactions, and I don't like waving that felony flag out there. I would really like to, get it taken care of, and move past this point in my life, this black hole that I created when I was so young, 17, almost 18 years old. I just never been in trouble since, had a clean record, and everything's been good. I can't really complain. Had a couple speeding tickets or whatever. I think I've really kept my nose clean. And that person, when I was 18 years old, was just a punk kid, just a kid. And I'm hoping that you guys can see past that.
Thanks. One question I have for you, Jamie, and this charge was dismissed, but if you could kind of fill me in, it looks like you had a 1996 arrest for misdemeanor disorderly conduct. Does that ring any bells?
Yes, sir.
Can you just tell what were the circumstances? With that?
My wife and I got into an argument. We just gave birth to our son, and it was maybe 3 weeks later, and it was just very high stress stuff, and we just got in an argument, and it carried on outside the house, and the police were called, and I went to jail overnight, and it was waived or dismissed.
Questions from the board?
if anybody would like to interview my wife or see my wife, she's sitting right next to me. So,
Jerry?
You were licensed to be foster parents. Did you ever have foster kids?
no, we had tried for several years to adopt, and we just every situation is in specific to itself, and every child is definitely specific to himself, and we just couldn't find a good fit, you know. But it was something that my wife had a passion for. She's a social worker at Tachita Prison, and so she's had a passion for the community and to give back, and I was trying to support it.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Well, thanks, Jamie, for your time and candor
Thank you,
with
guys.
us. And as you've heard me say a bunch of times, you'll hear from us in about a month, but hope you and your wife have a good weekend.
Thank you. You too. Thank you, everybody, for your time.
All right. And all right, Terrell, looks like you're our last person for today. So you've seen this all now, so I'm just going to hand things right over to you.
All right, that sounds good. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep, just fine.
All right, excellent. Hi, my name is Terrell Harper. Back in 1999, I want to say, a former friend of mine, or the co-defendant, called me up and asked if I could drop him off on 124th and Capitol. At that time, Builder Square was over there. He asked me to drop him off because he was meeting an associate of his to do a drug deal. He said that he would give me gas money. And so I needed gas money. I said, I'll do it for you. So I went over to his house to pick him up, went inside to say hello to his family, as I often did. And then we eventually made our way up to 124th and Capitol. I thought I was just supposed to be dropping him off. So as we get there, I park probably like 5 or 6 car stalls away from who he was supposed to be meeting. And he asked me to pop the trunk. I opened the trunk. He took a black bag out. He went over to the car, asked me to wait here for a second. As he was coming back after he had did whatever he did, there were 3 or 4 unmarked minivans that sort of skirted up behind us, blocking our way to get out. A bunch of police officers dressed in all black and ski masks got out with M16 like rifles. Get on the ground, get on the ground. We all got on the ground. Eventually, after all the scurrying had happened, one of the police officers took me into the van and said, basically, if you sign your name here saying that you knew that he had the marijuana on him, we'll make sure that the judge goes lenient on you. So I obliged, I signed it. And after that, was arrested, kind of went before the courts. It was about almost a year before the actual sentencing. Within that year, I know my public defender told me, hey, there's not a whole lot that I can do considering that you admitted that you knew that he was going to do this deal. He says, what you can do is do what you can to alleviate some of the repercussions that might happen to you. So within that time before sentencing, I was not a high school graduate, so I went back and got my GED. I did do community service. My mother actually worked at a nursing home called Golden Living. Glendale was Glendale and Milwaukee, or Glendale. So I did community service there. And also, I don't know if it was a precursor to what was going to happen in the future, but I also did a Wisconsin lottery commercial right before sentencing. So I presented this to the judge, and I was looking at 2 years House of Corrections plus the 3 years of probation and things like that, the restitution. The judge ended up giving me a year with good time in the Waukesha-Huber facility. So I did that year with good time, and with the good time that was worked, I actually was released in 9 months. I was employed at the time at AMF Waukesha, Rooters nightclub, that's not there anymore. After sentencing, after I completed my Huber obligation, I attended a drug and alcoholics meeting for 2 months, finished that, I fulfilled my probation. After 3 years, I paid the $3,500 restitution. And after I was off probation, I needed to wait 6 months for my revoked license to be able to get that again. Since then, I have, back in 2002, while I was still on probation, I got a job at the Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra. And I worked there until about 2008. After that, I went back to school and received my associate's degree in networking and IT support. I graduated with honors with a 3.8 grade point average. I made the Dean's List every single semester. I was on the National Honor Society as well as Phi Beta Kappa. After that, after I graduated, I had applied for 5 different jobs. And of those 5 jobs in IT, I was turned down for all 5. And 4 of them I was turned down because of the felony. One of them, I just didn't have the skills that they needed from that. I did get a shot though. After that, in 2012, I worked for a place called Tech Fusion as a managed service provider. I did that for about 4, almost 5 years, and then ended up at Northwestern Mutual as a contractor. I worked there for 3 years, and just recently, I would say in January, I was offered a position to work with a different team. And I worked for that different team for about 3 months, and then they asked me if I would like to be hired. I told them yes, but in that process, I did have to tell them that I was a felon. And that sort of put everything in jeopardy. Luckily, they hired me anyway. So I'm now an employee of Northwestern Mutual and have been since April. In that time, I have excelled in my work and everything that I was doing, to where I'm offered actually higher positions now for that. In addition, we have what's called an hour of code, and it's where you volunteer to teach K-12 kids how to program. So I volunteered for that and have been volunteering for that for the last year or so. And that has worked out great. And because of that, it sort of really piqued my interest of continuing to teach kids code, because every kid that I know I've come across, they've either wanted to be a rapper or a somebody that's a football player or basketball player. You know, we need these kids to be able to have technical skills as well. And so one of the reasons why I would hope to be able to get a pardon is because that's something that I would like to explore, a teaching certificate, being able to go into the schools and teach these kids a new skill. I do have some other notes here that I would just like to say, as well as, you know, during this time, these couple of decades, I went to Milwaukee High School of the Arts. I didn't graduate, but I love acting, I love theater, I love movies. I've been able to do 3 movies, one of them which is on Amazon Prime right now. It's called Dark Nemesis. I'll say you'll watch it once and you'll probably never watch it again because it's a horrible movie, but I'm in it, and it was a great experience. I've done several commercials as well, including WSOP, World Series of Poker. I've done Fleet Farm commercials. I've done industrial films, including for Miller and Northwestern Mutual, believe it or not. Like 7, 8 years before I worked there, I actually did an industrial video for them. So that was interesting as well. I don't look at this as, I look at this meeting that we're having right now as a celebration, because there are not many people who get this opportunity. I'm supposed to be a statistic right now. I'm probably supposed to be in jail again. You know, they don't make it easy for you, especially when you're on probation. It's easier to do wrong than it is to do good. But I realized early on that's not me. What I'm convicted for is not who I am. And I had to work harder, much harder, to get in the position that I'm in right now. I own my own home. I have an 800 credit score. I've never seen that in my life. I own my own cars. I don't have any children. And the biggest reason I don't have any children is because, being a felon, how can I bring a child into this world when I really don't know what's going to happen to me or if I can take care of myself? So I didn't want to put that burden, on my children. But I have nieces and nephews, and my situation has come in handy because as they start to get older, 10, 11, 12, 13, I've let them know what I've had to go through because they've almost gone, down these avenues themselves. And I make them a promise to say, look, this is what happened to me. This is what I'm going through. This is what I've done since then. If I can do it, you can do it. And I'll make you a promise. If I can get before this pardon board, that lets you know right there that you can do anything that you want to, and that you can go down a different path. And they see that and they respect that. So I've been rambling on here, but that is my story. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Mr. Harper. Just one odd question, because when I was reading through, about your commercial work, you have like the pillars of Wisconsin with Fleet Farm, Miller, and the lottery. How did you end up doing that?
Well, a friend of mine that I went to high school with, she ended up working for a talent agency called Jennifer's Talents. It was located in downtown Milwaukee off of Plunkington. So I went in there and talked to her, and I, spent the money to get my headshots done and things like that. And then they would pretty much call you if they have either a job for you or something for you to audition for. So luckily, most of those jobs were right here in the state. So I just have to travel, Madison, sometimes Oconomowoc, wherever. But yeah, that's how I was able to do it.
Any other questions from the board? All right, well, thanks for appearing before us, Mr. Harper. You're very thorough, and that usually cuts down on the questions, but appreciate your time and hope you have a good weekend, and you'll hear from us in about a month.
All right, you guys too. Have a good one.
All right, take care.
Bye.
All right, and with that, we have gone through all of our applicants for our November 12th hearing. I'm going to be making a motion, and I actually do have my script this time, to move into closed session. Is anybody willing to make a motion to move into closed session per WSStat 19.851 A, D, and F for purposes of deliberations, considering a case before the board, considering specific applications, financial, medical, social, or personal histories of specific persons? Is there a first? Jeff, is there a second?
Second.
Noble, anybody opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes, and we will go